lot of newsy news coming out.
Oh, but yeah, that was yeah. Thank you. Andy says it's John Paxton. Yeah, Bill Paxton again would have been more impressive though if he was out stopping tornadoes and then with Helen Hunt there in Twister. But yeah, that would have been far more impressive. John Paxton. Thank you, Andy. Thank you everybody who probably just yelled at their radios. We got those two confused. But now that would be I would be Harper would be down the list, but he was a big part of those some of those Bulls championships teams. And now his son last night, big part of that.
Respect.
Also last night there was the Texas Tech Baylor game that you were kind of
Yep.
interested in. And Texas Tech, an 83-73 winner over number
Started too late.
7 Baylor.
I wasn't able to watch it because it started at 9.
Purdue, I think, covered. I remember I mentioned Northwestern
Yeah.
yesterday. Purdue covers 70-64 last night. Number 25, Alabama, with a victory last night, 80-75. So not a bad night of college basketball, but again, kind of a slow night. By the way, just for the record, as I go back and look real quick, New Miami covered 70-63. They were a point to 2-point favorite somewhere. And then Brian Edwards also liked the over of 144 in the LSU Georgia game. And if math is helping me, it went at 149. So a 3-0 night for Brian Edwards last night
Nice.
in his basketball picks, if I'm doing that right.
You have to
84,
say that again.
65, I believe, would put you over the
You'll
144
have to
mark.
say that again later on when
When everybody,
I think it's Troy
Yeah.
that is anti Brian Edwards comes on the live stream.
so
Interesting timing. Someone just texted and said it's Michael Jordan's birthday too. How old is Michael Jordan?
52,
Long way off.
57.
59.
Really?
Yep. I think I would have gone younger too because I just remember when he turned 50 for whatever reason, I think he dunked on his 50th birthday, and everyone was going crazy about that. Not so sure he could do it now, but almost 60.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we got a very knowledgeable start to the program. Anonymous texter weighing in, yeah, or John weighing in, that's who it is, and telling us that, yeah, Jordan is 59 years of age this morning. So happy birthday. It's like a Tommy Moody
Happy birthday.
start to the show. I don't know if he does a did you know, but yeah, Michael
Yeah,
Jordan
he does
turning
trivia.
59.
He does a birthdays. I know he rips through
Oh.
birthdays.
So, yeah, all right.
On this day, 59 years ago, the GOAT was born.
Does anybody have a favorite? Like somebody hit us up yesterday. We were talking about great buzzer beaters, and one of them is Jordan's shot over Craig Elo. Do you have a specific Jordan memory? Because that's
He was great with the Wizards.
Okay, that's true. I forget that your memory, unfortunately, of Jordan is with the Wizards.
Yeah, pretty much.
Selecting Kwame Brown and then just tearing Kwame Brown down in practice and everything else. I
haven't heard from Kwame in a while. Remember he went on an absolute tear on Instagram Live sometime last year?
What was that in regards to?
Just destroying everyone for dragging his name through the mud, and he was ripping everyone. It was awesome. He was going on Instagram Live and just doing 15-minute rants every day. It was great. He was angry.
We are off and running here. Yeah, this is what happens when it's a slow sports day. So we'll get into some college football here. Again, some news there. We'll get Patrick's take on some NFL news coming out. The Minnesota Vikings expected to name a new head coach today. Yesterday, the Los Angeles Rams holding their championship parade, and I guess
Fantastic.
Aaron Donald and Sean McVay kind of hinting at running it back, which is, what you would say if you're 40 and 36, not 36 and 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that, we'll get Patrick's take on that.
And just the whole parade. I mean, what an embarrassment that was.
I didn't see much of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
First of all, it was 3/4 of a mile long. There were like 100 people out there. With some of the parades we've seen recently, like think of some of the Tampa Bay, who's had championships. The boat parades were both awesome.
Right.
I remember Washington, the Capitol was insane when the Nationals and Caps won. Who's another smaller team that's won recently? Like we've just seen great videos of the streets of these championship winning cities being Milwaukee last year, even for the NBA, was fantastic. There were tens of thousands of people out there, and it was just like the lamest short little stretch of parade with a handful of people out there at any given time, and it was so tame and so lame. And anyone that was going to argue about, no, you guys have it all wrong, Los Angeles is a great sports city, they're hiding today because that was embarrassing. It looked like the worst parade I've ever seen.
It's not you wouldn't expect. I think the Lakers will draw a lot. I don't know if you saw the tweet that LeBron put out about saying that
it's just such a LeBron thing to do.
It was the LeBron thing. LeBron putting out a tweet yesterday basically saying that the Lakers, the Dodgers, and now the Rams should all have one big combined parade to be a part of that.
The Rams win the Super Bowl. LeBron takes it as an opportunity to pat himself on the back and talk about himself. He's able to literally make anything about himself. It's incredible.
803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning. Anonymous texter weighs in, favorite Jordan moments, scores over 60 with the flu, and when he closed his eyes and shot a free throw. The free throw thing was pretty cool. Not many people seem to think that he was going to do that or believe he would do that, but yet that was just typical Jordan. So if you want to weigh in, it is Michael Jordan's birthday, as John pointed out. He is 59 years old today. Will weighing in says, Jen, tell me how you produce a sports talk show and your host know more about B-rated movie stars than sports. I'm a big fan of Twister. Bill Paxton, John Paxson. Like John Paxson, John Paxson, by the way, was 61 when I was looking him up. Didn't realize he was that old. So I should have ballparked that Jordan was around 59, but I thought Jordan was a lot younger than 59 years old he turned today.
That's kind of what I was basing it off.
So yeah,
Paxton's age.
We might have to talk a little bit about golf today too.
Yeah, we'll get into some. There is actually some golf.
Did
news.
Bryson officially leave?
It's not official. There's a lot of information out there that it's hard to say what's going on. And big thanks to Kyle Thompson yesterday for joining us as we'll do a new golf segment weekly. But no, it's a very interesting situation going on with the PGA right now. The Genesis Open will get started here later this morning, and a lot of reports out there that Bryson DeChambeau will not play on the PGA Tour anymore, that he is heading to the Super League. you had a lot of people come out. I say a lot. Some of the bigger names come out. Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, and John Rahm.
And Wesley
Basically,
Bryan.
oh, okay. I didn't
Did
see
you
the
see his
Wesley.
statement?
I did not see
He
Wesley
put a
Bryan's
statement on Instagram yesterday. It
That makes
says,
sense.
I've had no formal contact or connection to the Saudi Golf League until now. They've followed me on Twitter. I want the @tags the PGA Tour to know that I'm loyal unless they offer me $100 million. This is my official statement.
Good job, Wesley. Get in there. Yeah, there are a lot of rumors coming out yesterday about Bryson DeChambeau potentially leaving the PGA Tour.
And Phil.
He's out. Well, Phil can kind of do. Phil's legacy is set.
Yeah.
Phil's legacy is set, and he stamped that perfectly last year by winning the PGA Championship. That was a lot of fun to be at. Phil can go do whatever he wants. DeChambeau's 28. He'll be 29 later this year. He's got a lot more to do to really cement himself on the PGA Tour than just drive the ball 498 yards every time. There's a lot more to do. And him going to the Saudi, I guess the Super League, the Super Tour, the Saudi League, whatever they want to call it, I don't know what that does for his reputation long term. And going over there as they try to build that thing. Certainly he can be the face of it and make a lot of money. And I'll say this, Kyle Thompson made an interesting point yesterday. We look at the golfers that make a lot of money, the Tiger Woods, the Dustin Johnsons. If you go back and read, there's some really interesting articles on Kyle Thompson, former South Carolina Gamecock, who went on and was a member of the PGA Tour, and how much they make. And you get outside of that top 30 range, those top 30 kind of elite golfers, the money there isn't necessarily what you would think it is for a golfer, especially when you factor in expenses and some other things that they've got to kind of pay for in terms of traveling around. Yeah, the elite golfers, the John Rahms, the Roy McIlroys, the Dustin Johnsons, obviously the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, you can name a few others in that group that we're talking about, are doing perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear him talk about when you start putting it in a conversation with football, with baseball, with basketball. I mean, baseball is ridiculous, right? The contracts that come out and they're guaranteed and what you've got people getting paid.
I don't know if football's a good comparison.
That's still a lot of money for.
Not really. The guys at the bottom of the roster, if you're like a 7th round pick and you only last 2 to 3 years in the league, you're not even making $1 million in your career.
Well, that's again, but if you only last 2 to 3 years.
Compared to basketball, everyone on the roster is making very high 6 figures, if not millions. But football, the lower half of the roster, there's a lot of guys not making much money.
803-404-6100. We'll continue to get into that. Obviously, if you want to join us, you can join us on the text line this morning. Richard weighs in. We've been all over the map within the first 15 minutes of this program because we've talked about Michael Jordan's birthday. We've hit the PGA Tour. We've talked about Rutgers in Illinois, and Richard weighs in, says Rutgers is on an absolute tear right now. Manhandled Illinois last night. That's 4 straight top 20 teams they've beat. So we've covered a lot of area. If you want to jump in on anything in particular, 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in this morning, either on the Love Chevy phone lines or via the text line. You can also hop on the Buford Lending live stream is how you can join us there. DC saying, yep, Bill Paxton did have a slam dunk with Dorothy. It's true. Was able to find the right way to be able to get that tornado.
It had to be weighted down just enough so that it could be lifted up into the actual.
There we go.
Tornado. Mm-hmm.
Robin letting us know today is National Random Acts of Kindness Day. Keep that in mind as we go through the morning. RL saying my favorite memories of Michael Jordan are all the times he prevented Karl Malone from getting a ring. Jerry saying the MJ Shrug game in 1992. So we are covering a lot of ground early on this morning. And again, want you to be a part of it. 803-404-6100. Or again, you can hop on the Buford Lending live stream. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and join us as well. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Let's go out to Daniel, who wants to talk a little college basketball this morning. Daniel, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Hope y'all are doing well.
Doing well.
Hey, I would say, I mean, you could go all sorts of places with buzzer beaters, but I heard y'all talking about that. I would say the one that sticks out to my mind the most is, I can't remember the guy's name now, but the national championship when Villanova beat North Carolina on the buzzer.
Chris Jenkins.
3-pointer.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins, that's right. That was if you think about significance, you'd say that was one of the more significant ones. Hey, I don't know if y'all watched too much basketball last night, but I'll tell you what, Jabari Smith for Auburn had about his best game he's had since he's in his freshman year so far. And I think if he continues to play the way he did last night and make shots like he did last night, then I feel a little better about Auburn's chances to contend for a championship. And then the other question I had was, I know South Carolina's close to 500 now in the league. Who do they have left? And I guess what do they need to do to get into the tournament conversation? Are they kind of out of it unless they go far in the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call, Daniel. Number one, Jabari Smith last night. Again, a lot of people are projecting him as the potential number one pick in the upcoming NBA draft. He had 31 last night for Auburn. They knocked off Vanderbilt on the Plains 94-80. It was actually a pretty good game. I caught a little bit of it. Scottie Pippen Jr. was a back and forth game between those two. Pippen Jr. had 29.
Did you see where 21 of his 31 came from?
3-point range.
Went 7 for 10
Yeah.
from 3.
Yeah, hey, that's what Daniel's saying there. Yeah, he was shooting it really, really well.
And
Walker,
almost 7 feet tall.
here's the crazy thing. Auburn is a legit national title contender because of Jabari Smith, but the other guy last night that actually probably was the difference in the game was Walker Kessler, the big guy for Auburn. South Carolina will see them to finish out the season on the Plains, but Kessler had 22 last night. Smith and Pippen kind of canceled each other out because Scottie Pippen Jr., again, last night, 29 points, 14 of 16 from the foul line is what he ended up being in that game, but Auburn ends up winning. College basketball, again, I think is in a great place because, Patrick, you got Gonzaga. They win last night. Auburn wins last night. Again, Baylor, Texas Tech was a really good basketball game last night. There's a lot of competitiveness, a lot of parity, in my opinion, in college basketball. I talked about that top 10 game that I watched after the South Carolina game the other night, which was Providence and Villanova, and both of those are really good programs and really entertaining to watch. And, of course, he brought up the Chris Jenkins buzzer beater. As far as South Carolina, again, this weekend, this will be a really big weekend for them, obviously. You feel like if they win against LSU, while it's a long shot, they do at least stay in some kind of conversation for, I think, postseason play. I don't know if that's the NIT or the NCAA. If they win, you add a pretty good win to the resume. You lose, you got Alabama and you got Auburn out there, but not good matchups. South Carolina doesn't typically win in Tuscaloosa, and Auburn's really, really good. You win this weekend, you at least stay in the conversation. You lose, I don't really know. They're 6-7 in conference. LSU this weekend, Mississippi State next Wednesday night, and then a road trip to Alabama on February 26th, followed by the final home game against Missouri, and they round out against Auburn. So
a lot of opportunities to build a resume, but they're not going to find themselves on Joe Lunardi's bubble watch anytime soon.
No, and I'm not sure if they'll be favored against Mississippi State at home next Wednesday night, so it's likely they'll be underdogs in 4 of the next 5. But we'll talk certainly more about the LSU game tomorrow. It is Legends weekend for South Carolina down there, as they'll be honoring the ACC championship team of 1971 and the SEC championship team of 1997. Let's get back out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in this morning. How you doing this morning, Larry?
Doing just fine. I ain't worried about the Gamecocks going to the tournament because they will go to the tournament. I ain't going to tell you how, why, and when, but they'll go. This weekend, starting tomorrow, I got my ticket to go to the Gamecocks. Like, they got me a place in the handicap section right behind home plate. And they gonna have the Sumter Slinger. He'll be the closer. I hope he's the closer, but they say he's gonna pitch Sunday or Josiah Sattler. I don't think I can make that one though. Okay. I don't know whether I can even make the person, but I'm gonna try it. But Old Hog called me, trying to think I'm crazy. I want to talk about my athletics director, like I say. Talk about me, but don't talk about my coach, my team, or my athletics director. I'll see you later, Root Hog. I'm looking for you, buddy. Bill, Patrick, just have a good weekend. I done forgot what I was going to talk about. Lord, this old man done got so bum-fuddled up, I don't know what I'm doing. But we're going to be okay. Go Gamecocks. I'll see you in the NCAA. Go Gamecocks.
Good way to wrap up the first segment.
Well done.
Strong first segment from the entire group here. And
I hope the crowd makes sure that, they recognize the fact that Gamecock Larry is there. Like, come over, say hey to him, take his trash.
Yeah. And of course, I'm glad we got the update on the daily drama that is Gamecock Larry and Root Hog.
Right behind home plate, he'll be. If you want to go
calling
talk
balls
to him,
and strikes.
Don't you dare go talk to him about any of the coaches, players, or the athletics director.
Athletics director.
You direct your insults to the university president.
We've seen him get a little upset with coaches in the past. He's been a little upset. Then he normally he's upset for about 35 minutes, and then he calms down and is back on the coach's side.
How does he feel about the university president?
It's a good question. Well,
you know who the university president is right now?
It's Pastides.
No,
they have a new
I
one.
heard a new one.
No, I did not see. When did this occur? This is not in my. That's not in my wheelhouse of like looking at. Really, I feel like that should have been bigger news. Did I just check out for a weekend? And
I don't know. It's really not that pertinent to you.
No, it's not. Like, I got to admit, I'm not in school anymore, and I
can't remember his name, but it's very Greek.
My degree says John Palms or Dr. Palms, and I'm not sure what it says in terms of his name.
Michael Emeritus.
Okay. I do remember them doing interviews. So, yeah, and Chris says the Swansea slinger, Josiah Seitler. I also didn't think Seitler was from Sumter either. We are off to a phenomenal start. Just absolutely the knowledge. We've talked Bill Paxton. We've talked John Paxton. We've misidentified where Josiah Seitler is from. We've misguessed on Michael Jordan's age. We've got 2.5 more hours to screw up a whole lot of sports talk this morning, and we're going to do our absolute best to do that. Coming up at about 8:05, Perry Orth will join us to put us back on track. And at 8:45 this morning, Kerry Tharp of Darlington joins us. Daytona is this weekend, as Rooster P points out. He says morning from 59-degree Kentucky and the best-looking driver on the interstate. Odd that he's looking into somebody else's car and
that's a little
driving.
creepy.
Keep your eyes on the road there. Stop looking at the other nice-looking drivers around you. And Rooster P points out, don't forget about the NASCAR qualifying in Daytona last night as well. So keeping us on track. We appreciate all of our listeners.
Who got the poll? You can't Google.
I have no clue who got the poll. Jonathan says Bill. Yours probably says Andrew Sorensen. Nah, I was out of school well before Sorensen. It was Palms. It definitely was Palms when I was in school.
Martin Truex Jr. got the poll, right?
Excellent work. No, right. That's a good. Well,
Kyle Larson.
At this point, the mornings we've completely ruined the whole first hour.
Yeah,
the whole first hour is just absolutely.
The Hendrick team just kicked butt in qualifying. So.
And great. Dennis is pulling for Root Hog on the text line. He says, give Gamecock Larry the business, Root Hog. Keep his blood pressure up. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let's take a break. Let's all reset. Get some coffee. We'll start the program all over again. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 107.5.
Yeah, that was a bizarre segment. Just overall.
Normally you've got one topic that you're like, all right.
The opening segment of the 6 hour is always something weird or random, but usually not that many things.
Yeah, we went down a wild path. But I mean, it really does speak to, because even last night, as I was kind of like laying there, I was like, it was really not like you didn't even have a great basketball game that you could get into. I mean, we're discussing Rutgers in Illinois and Texas Tech and Baylor, which I get it that Illinois is, I think, number 12, and Rutgers Baylor was a top 15 game. Not Rutgers, but Texas Tech Baylor. But I remember looking last night, and I was like, something will pop up.
I'm already thinking a week out. What am I going to talk about by myself for 3 hours?
Oh, you'll be good. You'll be able to preview the Mississippi State game. You'll have a baseball game from the night before.
It means I'm going to have to watch it.
Just look at the box score.
Can't just talk.
You allow Tommy Moody to do that. I gotta call Brian Jeffcoat this morning. Yeah, even last night I was like,
see, this isn't true though, because Jen is back, but we just had the most random opening segment. We stayed on track yesterday mostly. Mostly.
is Larry gonna shank Warthog? I don't know. It is. Huh. Andrew Sorensen was the president of the university when I was in school.
So this is why she drives me crazy. It doesn't tell us squat.
If I didn't know better, I would. But we had that discussion yesterday, so I actually know what that is.
Well, it has to do with because maybe it's coming to right. They're coming. But like.
Yeah, the parade was so tame. Why is it so loud? The parade was so tame that Aaron Donald went and sat courtside at the Lakers game last night. Tom Brady couldn't stand up after the parade last year. Maybe Aaron Donald doesn't drink.
I think, like you said, it was just poorly put together
People just don't care.
in L.A.
You can't get any rowdier. I mean, you feed off the fans that are there, I would think. When they're all throwing beers to you and everyone there is partying, it's one thing. But when they're all just standing there, it's kind of weird.
Well, thankfully, this will be a short segment, too.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
6:34 on a Thursday morning, February the 17th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen is back with us and doing a poor job of keeping us on track because that first segment, what we were talking about, oh, daddy, we were all over the map. And I question now, how many of you Jen, do you remember who the president was at Butler when you graduated?
Yeah.
Do you?
Bannister. Mm-hmm.
Yours was recent, so Patrick, you were recent. I didn't know. I had no clue. A couple of you hit me up on Twitter and sent in some screenshots of Andrew Sorensen's Wikipedia page, and Andrew Sorensen was indeed the president when I graduated. I had
Oh,
Do you remember
no
who the keynote
clue.
speaker was at your graduation?
I graduated in December,
Sam.
and I don't even know if we had a keynote speaker.
Backstage spoke at ours.
Really?
Oh, wow. That would have been grete.
I thought the president does that anyway. I was kind of hoping for somebody famous.
I vaguely remember my college graduation. I was just happy to get out. 5.5 years in college. I was happy.
I remember looking at, the binder, and basically if your diploma was in there, then obviously you graduated. If it was empty, then it was like you're going to need to go have a conversation with somebody, and they,
I don't think they gave us the diploma when I graduated. I think you had a sheet of paper that just said congratulations. It was like a little too, and I think that was followed by another sheet that said, okay, you're a graduate now. Join the alumni club and pay this amount of money, please. We would like your new job to now support our club. But yeah, I didn't.
I think you get mailed the diplomas.
I did. I did, and then I think my father bought the stuff to frame it. It's hanging back at the house. I have seen it. Now I will actually look at it a little bit more closely
I don't even
today.
have mine. My parents have mine.
I just
remember. I don't know at what point we have the conversation where it's like, all right, now I get the diploma.
Yeah, no.
I guess I don't really need it at my house. I don't really care. I've been renting. I've lived in a different place every year for.
I think once
7
you have your own
years.
house, then I'll hang it in your house.
Do you? I don't. 803-404-6100. Do you have your college? You want to go college diploma? Your college diploma?
I wouldn't even know where my
hung up in your house somewhere, like in an office, or I can't imagine. It's just, especially if you're married, I can't imagine the husband and the wife have their diplomas hanging up like in the living room.
The only time I ever see diplomas hanging up is if it's like a doctor saying this is where I graduated med school and this is my.
I think you got to have that. I feel like that's
you,
part of it.
You have to. Yeah.
No, 803-404-6100. Do you have your diploma hanging up in your house somewhere? And again, if you're married, I feel like if the husband has the diploma up, but the wife doesn't, I feel like it's kind of rude. I feel like that's a sign of superiority there, where you're like, my degree means more than yours. So we'll hang mine up to show that we're college educated adults and parents, but
especially if you both went to the same school too. Like, do you need 2 South Carolina diplomas hanging up right next to each other?
You both earned them.
You did both earn them. I don't know if a lot of people have their diploma. Now that I've never gone to somebody's house and started looking around to see if the diploma is hanging up on the wall
right next to their artwork, or
I would think it's more
I think in an office.
It's more in your office. Mine's hanging up at the other office that I have, so it does. But I never even think to look at it. I'm interested in that. 803-404-6100. Do you have your diploma hanging up anywhere? Whether
we'll talk
your
about anything today. If you want to talk about something random or something that happened to you yesterday, or just something you're curious about, just go ahead and text it in. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah,
we got nothing today.
Well, it is Random Acts of Kindness Day, so maybe talk about random acts of kindness that you could do for somebody.
Very true. We are going to get into
Random Subjects Day.
We are going to get into a little bit of Super Bowl talk with Perry Orth and get into Daytona with Carrie Tharp coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Patrick, let's do talk sports for just a minute. Let's get your take on the Vikings, who officially hired Kevin O'Connell, the former Los Angeles Ram offensive coordinator. Just your take, because this involves Kirk Cousins. It involves what I think is a decent, not a great, but a decent Minnesota Viking roster that can be rebuilt or some pieces added to it. Justin Jefferson, obviously Adam Thielen, two big pieces there at the wide receiving position. Again, Kirk Cousins. I don't know how you feel about Kirk Cousins, but you've also got Kevin O'Connell now coming in, and Sean McVay considered the mastermind of the Rams offense, but we've seen kind of the Sean McVay tree kind of branch out throughout the NFL now. Your thoughts on Kevin O'Connell joining the Vikings and what that does to Jen's division?
Yeah, this is another Washington assistant that's now a head coach. It's getting ridiculous. Just from one staff, there were 4 head coaches because Kyle Shanahan was the OC. He's obviously the head coach in San Francisco. The quarterback's coach was Matt LaFleur, obviously the head coach in Green Bay. Sean McVay was the tight ends coach, the head coach in LA now, and the wide receivers coach from that team is Mike McDaniel, who's just hired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And I'm not sure if Kevin O'Connell was on that staff yet, but he was the quarterback's coach a couple years ago, 2 years ago for Dwayne Haskins. And then the next year was hired as the offensive coordinator for Sean McVay. So I assume that he was on that staff. Well, that was 13 years ago. I assume he was had worked with McVay before, but he's known. I mean, everybody from the McVay, I guess you're calling it the McVay tree now. I don't know if he branches off of the Shanahan tree or what, but everybody from that McVay tree is kind of the same story. Just a young guy that's been attached to him and supposed to be young and really smart. And I haven't heard really anything bad about Kevin O'Connell. I've never heard of him being one of the great young minds in the league, but you didn't hear that about Zach Taylor either when he was hired as off of Sean McVay's staff as the quarterback coach, right to head coach. At least O'Connell's been a coordinator at this point, but it's still early. But I think this is what the Vikings want. They want a bit of a youth movement going on in town. They interviewed Jim Harbaugh, had a lot of experience, has obviously led a team to a Super Bowl, but I don't think they want someone really with head coach experience. I think they want to have a young GM who they do. It's Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who's an analytics-driven guy, real young, really bright, supposed to be one of the fast risers in the front office and in the executive world. So I think they just want to pair him with someone young, and they can just kind of be on the same page and learn and grow together. As for what that means for this Vikings roster, I'm really not sure. I mean, Kirk Cousins is really the big decision. Do they want to extend him? Because he's not going to give them a discount. I mean, it's going to be $45 million a year, and he's obviously not worth that. But can you do better than that? I would say next year, no, you can't do better than Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is still a competent, pretty good NFL quarterback. He's just not great, and he doesn't elevate anything around him. So when you have a roster that has to be built with $45 million already attributed to the one quarterback, it's really hard to do. So I think maybe they give it a shot one time with Kirk, see what Kevin O'Connell can draw from him because they haven't really had an offensive coach. Mike Zimmer is a defensive guy, and he's been there for almost a decade, if not more than a decade. So maybe they give it one shot, but if I was the Vikings or a Vikings fan, I would be all in on just get rid of Kirk, maybe stink this year if that's what you got to do. Draft a quarterback if you want to. I wouldn't use a first-round pick on it, though, because these quarterbacks are not very good. I would just say take a quarterback in the second round, start a rookie, do whatever you got to do. Be in the mix for the quarterback class next year. Next year's class is legit with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud from Ohio State at the top. This is not the year for it, and it's also just we've seen what Kirk Cousins is. He can lead you to 9-7, I guess 9-8 now. Maybe get you double-digit wins when he's on a really good team. I mean, they won a couple playoff games when their roster was absolutely loaded, but it collapsed quickly because they were just paying him so much money. So it's an interesting spot that weirdly a lot of teams are in right now.
Again, the Vikings making the hire, as Patrick's talking about, of Kevin O'Connell, former Los Angeles Ram offensive coordinator. And we talked about that. We ranked, I don't know, it's on the sheet behind me. I don't know where. I had the Vikings ranked pretty high as a job. So, what you're talking about is kind of getting rid of Kirk Cousins there, moving on and kind of restarting. Be interesting. You mentioned Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. We'll talk a little bit this morning. We'll get into some college football discussion. One of the guys that maybe puts himself back into that position is Spencer Rattler, a guy that a lot of people thought would be picked pretty highly in the upcoming draft. So we'll get back into that and several
if he's in that conversation this time next year, we will be very happy.
That's true. South Carolina fans should be pretty happy with that.
Although I guess that's another question we got. What are the odds that Spencer Rattler plays great and South Carolina regresses? Do they go hand in hand?
Well, ask that question. We'll get into that a little bit.
All right.
We'll make some sports talk because a lot of you, I appreciate everybody weighing in. Chris saying this morning, and I kind of agree with this, is most of us were hungover at graduation. No idea about the keynote speaker. Anonymous texter weighs in. Diplomas should be in the office only. I got my undergrad and grad in my office. Looks better for the Zoom meetings than blank walls, and it's a conversation starter. Okay, with that, John weighing in on the text line says both diplomas, both he and his wife hanging side by side in their house. Hers from Lander, his from South Carolina. Dylan weighing in says, I think the word y'all are looking for is degree, not diploma.
No, don't do that, Dylan.
I was going to say,
Don't do that.
And he says he gives us an LOL. So he's being a part of the program this morning. And Buckeye Eric saying, my wife's doctorate degree is hanging up. However, his police academy certification is not. There you go. So a lot of good answers
your
there.
Buckeye Superfan diploma.
A lot of good answers there. We'll get into that discussion on Spencer Rattler. We'll talk a little college football here. It's kind of a slow morning. You do have South Carolina getting ready for opening day tomorrow against UNC Greensboro. We had a great interview with John Whittle earlier in the week. You can go and check that out. But we'll get into that a little bit as well, just talking about the expectations, Patrick, for the baseball program this coming season for Mark Kingston. So we will talk some sports this morning, but if you want to weigh in on anything, as Patrick said, 803-404-6100. We roll along on a Thursday morning, February the 17th. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game. Thank goodness we made that first segment that long.
Yeah. Wait, what do we have Perry at 7:30?
8:05, so that we can.
The whole 7 o'clock hour, no guests?
No guest. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, what you got?
I'm doing some research.
All right. On what? So I can just set you up.
The records of it's the Spencer Rattler question.
Okay.
I'm gonna look up the records of the top 10 quarterback draft picks their final year in college.
Okay.
Or not even, maybe I won't even go that far.
So there we go. We got topics. Look at us. Boy, I'm having one of those mornings where I don't realize how old anybody is. Do you know how old Mark Kingston is?
No, I wouldn't begin to guess.
I was going to guess mid to late 40s, like if you'd have said
I was probably gonna say 45.
he's 51. I wouldn't have guessed over 50. He'll be 52 in May. I mean, in his and Jordan's defense, I guess it's nice that I'm thinking everybody's younger than they really are. Why, thank you. 2 pages.
One out, one for each hour.
Oh, good.
Delightful.
Oh, good. Richard's asked you a question on the text line that I can ask you here when we come back to wrap up the segment regarding quarterbacks. A good sports question.
All right, 20.
Okay, I'm going to bring this back up too. Go through our live stream because I feel like the degree versus diploma discussion is a very weird one. Oh, there you go, Artia. And it's framed in a box on the floor. Very nice. Good job, RL. Yes, you've done nothing with your diploma. Just sitting at your house in the FedEx box. It's true. Probably in his man cave office. Didn't really eat dinner last night. I'm kind of hungry. .651 on a Thursday morning, February 17th. We will get into this discussion. Patrick's doing some research, so we've decided to make what was a off-center first hour more sports relatable in hour number 2. We'll get into some baseball discussion as it pertains to expectations the day before Mark Kingston and South Carolina get going on the diamond tomorrow over at Founders Park. We'll get into that. We'll also, Patrick's got a question. Phrase it exactly how you want to phrase it.
Well, I'm going back and kind of looking into what the top draft picks, quarterbacks, did on their team the year before, because we've had this discussion of, well, if Spencer Rattler finds himself in the top 10 next year, that means South Carolina was really good. But is that necessarily the case? Because obviously he's got crazy arm talent and is just overall a great athlete and physically a good prospect. What are the odds that he does enough to elevate himself to be a top 10 draft pick, but not elevate South Carolina enough to be a great team? Is there a chance that South Carolina can go 6-6 next year, but Spencer Rattler throw for a boatload of yards, look good, and still be a top 10 pick? Like, do Spencer Rattler's success and South Carolina's team success go hand in hand?
So does Spencer Rattler's draft status
Because
go hand in hand with South Carolina,
right,
say, winning 9 games?
Because mostly I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes. Like, they were so average. I'm trying to remember what his last year at Texas Tech was, but from 2015 on, they went 7-6, 5-7, 6-7, 5-7, 4-8. And that was from 15 to 19.
Mm-hmm.
All of the years that, I don't know which year Patrick Mahomes started or not, but clearly he didn't elevate them to some crazy level. He was insanely talented and had a ridiculous arm, and that's why the Chiefs traded in the top 10 to go get him, but he didn't win them games.
Well, did Sam Howell hurt his draft stock this year? Because they obviously went 6-7, and we know.
I guess we'll find out.
The bowl game, I guess, for Sam Howell, the bowl game's interesting because he was 12 of 22, I think, for 207 yards, I think is what the final stats were. We looked that up to make sure. And it wasn't an awful performance from Sam Howell in the bowl game, but it wasn't a good one.
Right.
There's nobody out there that would say, oh, yeah, Sam Howell was very good in the bowl game. Again, it wasn't like the worst performance he's ever had. It's not like he went out and threw 3 picks and was just brutal. But did Sam Howell this year on a North Carolina team, was 205 yards, by the way, for Sam Howell, on a North Carolina team that finished 6-7, did he hurt his draft stock? We'll talk about it. It's an interesting question as it pertains, and it's sports related, so that'll make some of you happy. And again, we'll get into some college baseball discussion. And I'm confused right now by like this text message, because I definitely have my South Carolina State degree displayed in my place. I don't know about a college diploma. Diploma is the piece of paper you get. have that discussion as well. So much to talk about. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
All right, time to catch up on the live stream. More Ram fans at the parade than cheering. Yeah, that's true. But barely. I think that's kind of the right place for it to go, RL. Just to have it. You don't want to lose it. I don't know when you'll use it, but it's not something you want to just throw out. Framed in a box on the floor. There you go. When did Pasties become president? I guess I'll look that up. Framed, not hung. It's kind of seems to be the common theme there. Framed but not hung. I mean, who does anyone have them not framed and just like in a folder? I'm trying to picture
I
how
think when
big
you
is a diploma? It's not just a 8 by 11.5 sheet of paper, right? It's like the degrees are kind of big, right?
My daughter's is even bigger than that.
The diploma is the sheet of paper, the degree is the major or whatever. Either way, how big is the sheet of paper? It's bigger than a regular. I mean, it's bigger than this, right?
Some are.
I can't even picture it. I know my frame is big. How many actually work in what they have a degree in? I don't know if I would be considered. I mean, I was a public relations major, but I started off at the other school, Wagner, as a political or government major, political science major, and then came here and was public relations and political science. I was fully planning on going into the political world as a high schooler and early in college. But not having it as my major, I somehow got on a track where I finished all my political science classes in my first year at Carolina. So I had 2.5 more years of no political science classes, but having a political science degree, and I just kind of lost the luster for it.
I can see that.
I was going to go to law school, do constitutional law, and then become a campaign manager. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow. I was a radio TV major, but a poli-sci minor.
A lot of
So I
poli-sci
thought
minors
broadcast
out
law
there.
would be cool. And here
Fred,
we are.
Whittle was on our program, too. He was on Monday.
You don't do that. What are you doing?
Huh?
That good information was given to you on this stream.
Yeah. Whittle was on our program, too. We had Whittle first. Jeez.
Copycat. Wow. No respect.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Miss Sharon's going to get me some creamer.
From where?
I don't know. She just said upstairs. She said they have like liquid pot, like it's something. I don't know what she's bringing. She's bringing me a cup of coffee creamer because one person on the live stream currently drank. I think she's still on the live stream. Drank all the coffee creamer at the house and then didn't tell me. So when I went to get coffee this morning, there was no creamer in the fridge.
Just the most first world problem you'll ever hear.
When
I
you
saw
saw it was low, you couldn't have done something about that?
thought I would have enough for today.
I have a thing of non-dairy creamer. I don't even use creamer, but I just have a thing of non-dairy creamer that will never go bad, and if I ever need it, then I'll just use it.
Okay, we're in the open.
Well, flavored like the Black Rifle or yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're now telling
That's
me we're out of
amazing.
creamers. I sit here at 7:00.
But
Been
again,
nice to
when
have
it gets
known last
low,
night instead
go
of
get
stopping
some.
at a party. I could have stopped by the store.
A loser.
Oh, Miss Sharon's bringing me some creamer from upstairs, but I don't know what it is. Thursday morning, February the 17th. Hope you're doing well out there, doing better than me. Discussing on the Buford Lending live stream the lack of coffee creamer that was at the house this morning.
And now here it comes.
I did. I sent, yeah. I our lovely security guard, Miss Sharon, has arrived with coffee creamer to take care of because what do we got? Oh, perfect.
And you say you're not a diva.
Is that thank you. What was this kind right here? Okay. It's just for thank you. Perfect. I appreciate it,
You
Miss
are
Sharon.
so spoiled. It's just
Unbelievable.
mind-boggling. Thank you, Miss Sharon.
If you're wondering what's going on at the house this morning, I didn't have any
I'm so
coffee
embarrassed.
creamer because Lauren drank all the coffee creamer and then failed to inform me of that last night. So when I poured
Oh,
my
Ben,
coffee,
did you plan ahead?
when I
Oh,
poured
feels
my
like it's a little empty, starting to get a little low.
I was gonna have enough. I was going to have plenty for this morning to take care of myself and
to take care of yourself. Okay.
and obviously there was none there and I could have stopped at the grocery store last night. But the conversation on you can always go join us off air for wild conversations. But the Buford Lending live stream that we have, you can go to youtube.com, search 1075 the game, click subscribe and join and be a part of the conversation. There's a little chat form off to the side that you can weigh in. RL, Larry, Kelly, Hope usually gets in there, DC, Decor, Anthony's in there, Craig is promoting Whittle being on with Heath yesterday, despite the fact that we had John Whittle on Monday, Craig. So anyway, the point being is you can go and join there. But off air, we were discussing flavored coffee. Like I have Dunkin' Donuts, the bag at the house, French vanilla. Flavored coffee without coffee creamer is not good. Patrick disagreed with me. We were having this conversation before the show even started. Like Black Rifle coffee, the coffee for wellness that I've drank in the past, like that is black coffee is very good, quite delicious, but I don't have any of that. I have the flavored coffee, and I think that is just not good without coffee creamer.
Yeah,
How weird.
I don't know what to why you would rather just have regular black coffee than
Right.
black
I don't know,
coffee
like
that has a flavor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You're very picky about your coffee.
I am. There's a
Me
lot.
too.
There's a lot happening here.
I just don't drink it.
803-404-6100. How you can be a part of the program. Sean weighs in. The best part of today's show so far is the Slick Rick intro music. Yeah, we've been a little all over the map, but we will rein it back in. Patrick has done some research. We'll get into a little bit of Spencer Rattler discussion this hour, as well as some expectations for South Carolina baseball. Let's start with this Spencer Rattler discussion here that you want to go in.
Yeah.
What
I think I mostly want to eliminate most of the discussion and just compare him almost just to Mahomes. Because if you go through, I pulled up all the top drafted QBs of the last few years and kind of just looking at what they did with their teams. And obviously last year, 3 of them were in the college football playoff. One of them won the national championship. So it was Trevor Lawrence played Justin Fields, and then Justin Fields won, and they played Mac Jones, who they were all on powerhouses. So there's not really much to compare there. Zach Wilson clearly elevated BYU, and they were a great team. And if they had beaten Coastal Carolina, they would have had a chance at potentially being one of the, at least in the discussion for the college football playoff. And Trey Lance didn't play, so that one's hard to compare. Burrow, incredible season, and obviously Joe Burrow is just an outlier
But
in general.
no, because I think let's start with this with
He had
almost
the greatest season of all time.
Let's go with a baseline here for a second. Going into 2021, Spencer Rattler was considered a top 10 pick, was the Heisman favorite, and I believe was considered a top 10 pick, if not the number one
odds-on favorite
pick.
to be the number one pick.
Okay, and to be honest, it's not like he had an awful season last year.
No.
I think, Patrick, that if he'd have entered the draft, I know that he got benched, but if he'd have entered the draft, what are we still talking about right now? Spencer Rattler being, I mean, could have he played his way with an NFL combine invite and with workouts?
If he was in this draft class, and honestly, he probably might have a better chance of being one of the top drafted guys if he had just gone to the draft this year, because his skills are as good as anybody's. People are talking about QB1 now is Malik Willis because he's just got crazy arm talent and he can run like crazy and he's a great runner. But everyone else has major flaws, and there's no one like this is a terrible QB class. No one thinks that this is a good QB class overall, and no one's established themselves. So I honestly think if Spencer Rattler was in this draft class, he would just be lumped in with these guys. I mean, right now there's 5 or 6 guys that you can reasonably say would be QB1, and it's Malik Willis from Liberty, it's Matt Corral from Ole Miss, it's Sam Howell from North Carolina, it's Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. Am I missing anybody? I don't think so. I think that's
Kenny Pickett?
Kenny Pickett, yeah. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. And everyone's kind of got them stacked up differently. I've heard people say that each one of those guys is the best, but no one's in love with any of them. So Spencer Rattler could very well be in that conversation, and people could just say, hey, he had a pretty bad year by his standards, but I mean, let's not pretend like he didn't light it up as a redshirt freshman, and he's still got the most talent.
11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He completed 75% of his passes, and he threw for 17 yards shy of 1,500. Again, not an awful year, and I think that's what makes it interesting, because one thing we talk about Spencer Rattler is re-elevating his draft stock to where it was at the beginning of 2021, and certainly that's one of the reasons that he's back in college. But I think you make a good point. So now we go to, so if you do the baseline here of, let's say he's a first-round pick and he's trying to elevate himself, what kind of season does he need to have?
So what I wanted to ask is, I think Mahomes is just a great example for this, because he was, I think he was number 10. I think he was the 10th pick. He was the 3rd quarterback taken after Trubisky and Watson. I think he might have gone before Watson. I can't remember exactly. I got to go back and look at that. But the Chiefs traded up to get him. In his last year at Texas Tech, they went 5-7, but he threw for 5,000 yards and 41 touchdowns. Plus, he ran for 285 and 12 rushing touchdowns. So overall, he had 53 touchdowns and about 5,300 yards. What are the chances that if Spencer Rattler throws for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns this year between rushing and throwing, is there any chance that South Carolina doesn't win 8 games? That's kind of my question. If you told me right now that Spencer Rattler is going to throw for 5,000 yards next year and he's going to have over 40 touchdowns, we can even go lower, 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. Is South Carolina guaranteed to win 8 games? Like, is that all they've been missing, and that is the key ingredient? Or is the schedule so brutal and things can happen and we can say, wow, Spencer Rattler was incredible, but it really didn't amount to much?
Well, it's going to start with how good is the defense? What does Clayton White do with the defense? Obviously, you got to replace J.J. Enagbare, but you also feel like there are pieces there that could help replace J.J. Enagbare. The defensive line has got to be better against the run. That's one big area that we're going to talk about. The secondary also has to make strides as it pertains to slowing down some passing attacks. Not all. They were good, obviously. We just pointed out the Sam Howell numbers. But I think the question you're asking, you look ahead to South Carolina's schedule, and if you're telling me now some of those numbers, like when you give those numbers, those are very, very good numbers.
He had absurd numbers.
It can't be I'm throwing for 400 yards in games against Georgia State, Charlotte, and South Carolina State, and 1,200 yards and, say, 12 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in each game. Out of those numbers coming in and throw Vanderbilt in there. Say what you want. South Carolina should be favored over Vanderbilt in Nashville next year by a significant number.
The Mahomes numbers might be just too gargantuan to even compare with, because that's Big 12 and it was Cliff Kingsbury and their defense was terrible. So I actually would say if Spencer Rattler has over 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, I would say there's no way South Carolina wins less than 8 games.
Well,
But we'd have to kind of scale that back and put it on a more SEC scale. Like that's kind of what Joe Burrow did. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for what 5 or 6,000 yards, between 5 and 6,000 yards, and 50 touchdowns, or was it 60 touchdowns? It might have been 60 with the playoffs added because he threw I think 7 against Oklahoma in the college football playoff. But that if you do that, you're gonna win a lot of games. But if he throws for 4,000 yards, because 4,000 yards would be a great season.
right. Anonymous texter weighs in, and I'm with this anonymous texter on what he's saying based on what you're just throwing out as potential numbers. He says, yes, guaranteed 8 games. That would be so awesome. However, would not win you the big games automatically like Georgia, Texas A&M,
Right.
and Clemson. And I'm with
Like if you play Texas A&M and Spencer Rattler goes for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns,
I don't think it
you don't-
necessarily
you don't
means you win.
necessarily-
I don't think it means you beat Georgia. I don't think it means you beat Clemson. I mean, we're just again hypothetically throwing out like, okay, what kind of year? Because I do think what you're asking, and we're going to get into some baseball talk with Mark Kingston or talking about that program and expectations early. You're right. The expectations for Spencer Rattler are only going to grow as we get closer to September. And I don't know what the actual numbers will end up being this year because we still need to see what he ends up like. Juice Wells, the wide receiver coming in from James Madison, how they use Jaheim Bell, what happens with Josh Vann? Does he take another step forward? How does Austin Stogner factor in? And shoot, can the offensive line keep Spencer Rattler upright? That's another just big question as it pertains to South Carolina's offense and what he does. But Patrick, I think you're onto something. There hasn't been this much excitement, I think, for a quarterback in quite some time. Yeah, I mean, people got kind of excited about Ryan Helinski, but that was a high school guy coming in, and you already had.
But the
Jake
conversation
Bentley.
around him was like he could be an NFL guy. Spencer Rattler will play in the NFL.
Okay,
That is almost written in stone at this point. There's very little. He would have to be just horrendous this year to not get drafted. So maybe the question isn't even about stats, and that's the wrong way to do it. Maybe it's just the narrative or what we said when he transferred to South Carolina was this might be a 1-year rental. But if you get him for 1 year and he goes in the first round next year and he leaves because he's going to be a first-round pick, well, that means something went really well for South Carolina. Maybe that's not the case. Like there is a chance. We've seen Mahomes was 5-7, but NFL evaluators just were in awe of what he can do, isolated his play from the rest of the team, and they said, this guy's worth taking a chance on. Is there a chance? And there is a chance. How good is the chance that Spencer Rattler plays well enough, flashes his arm talent, makes a couple big plays, shows what he can do, and NFL teams look at him and say, this guy is awesome. So unfortunately, he wasn't on a good enough team, so it didn't result in wins, but he's got what we want. So we're still going to take him in the first round.
I think there's no doubt that could happen. And it's not the gargantuan numbers that you just threw out, but let's say that Spencer Rattler throws for 3,000 yards, which isn't unrealistic. And
Mitch Trubisky was drafted number 2. He threw for 3,700 yards in the ACC and 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, 20. I mean, he could do that in South. You're right. South Carolina could still very well be 6-6, but because he comes to a South Carolina program that certainly is not on the same level as Oklahoma and performs the way he does, or has an above average season. You're right. College NFL evaluators could very well say, yeah, okay, now we've seen enough. And certainly if he looks like a true team leader out there and is showing kind of that kind of leadership skill you want from your NFL quarterback, I could certainly see South Carolina being 6-6. You look at that schedule next year, and as you just go down it early on, you should assume for 4 wins right off the bat with Georgia State, Charlotte, South Carolina State, and Vanderbilt. Those 4 you would just naturally say. Now after that, I don't know. You're talking. You haven't beaten Missouri in 2 years, maybe 3. I'm trying to think. I think it's 3. You haven't beaten. Yeah, it's 3. They haven't beaten Missouri in 3 straight years. Texas A&M, you haven't beaten since you've been in the SEC. You go to Kentucky, and quite frankly, there's no reason right now you even put Kentucky in the toss-up category when you've lost 6 of the last 7 to them. Florida, I don't know what to. I would actually have Florida as more of a toss-up, even though that game's in the swamp, than I would Kentucky. The way Tennessee beat South Carolina last year, and Hendon Hooker coming back, I kind of lean more toward that being a loss than in the toss-up category. And obviously Clemson, you've lost a couple straight to them, and that game's up in Death Valley. So I'm with you on that. Spencer Rattler could have a very good year, and yet still South Carolina finished 6-6, and NFL draft scouts look at it and talk about it. 803-404-6100. We'll get into this a little bit more. If you want to weigh in, you can do so on the Love Chevy Fun Lines or on the text line. Again, you can also hop on the Buford Lending live stream to weigh in and be a part of the conversation there. We'll get into this a little bit more, and we'll get into some baseball discussion. Your expectations for Mark Kingston this coming season. What you think as Mark Kingston enters his 5th year at South Carolina. Realistic expectations. You always want to sit and say, hey, we should go to Omaha every year. I don't know if that's necessarily realistic. So we'll talk about that. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Yeah. We just use we have to use our laptop camera. That one doesn't work.
I'm looking at the screens and I'm invisible in all of
Yeah,
them.
you're invisible.
Like a ninja.
Yeah, it's the laptops are facing us.
I'm gonna leap over the podium. I was
Did you-
never here.
Do you just have to come snag the charger?
Nah, pretty much it. I can joke around about it. Oh, so your mic stay up the whole time?
She has us in program 3. Yeah.
Huh, interesting. This is all very elaborate. Yeah. Last night I was working on stuff. I'm like,
Don't-
I was like, okay, I got a choice. I can drive down right now and get there at 1 in the morning. Or I
Yep.
could just fix it and come down early. So how you been? Everything all right?
Yeah, going good.
With cameras, we're gonna probably be like, well, I hate it.
Yeah.
Klein.
No, we're rolling.
Pure talent in here
After
now.
the slow season. We're doing I guess Terry and I are doing a live show from the arena on Sunday,
So I hear.
or from outside. Should be interesting. Wednesday, I'll have my first solo show.
Really?
Yeah.
That's new. What's going on?
Bill's just got something with the kids on Wednesday, so Wednesday will be the first ever Patrick show for 3 hours. And do a lot of prep this weekend.
Probably a good idea. Wednesday, obviously.
No, but I will watch every second of baseball and basketball
Thursday's game on Tuesday?
on Wednesday night.
Okay.
So that'll be the Wednesday. And I'll have a couple guests. And that'll be the plan to keep them long and then just work everything around that. But
No, don't. You'll do fine. I think we'll know you people.
Yeah.
You guys seem to have a good level of participation. So
I'll come up with a
you do
couple.
things like put people on cameras at 7:50 in the morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I'll definitely have to come up with something NFL related because that's where I can really talk for a while. But
Lean into whether Brady should retire. That's
Yeah.
people like that.
is Brady coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really fresh.
Yeah. Why don't you hang around for a second? We'll continue this discussion with you. We'll see if you can upset Ray even more than you typically do in the afternoon. Or just,
Yeah, gotcha. See, is he texting you guys? Or
Oh, yeah.
well,
yeah.
he just started this morning.
I guess he just woke up.
Well, he said he hadn't seen it, but he had stopped texting for a long time. And then, because I come in and it's like the last text I see from, to him. So I'm like, oh, he's still around. So we just got into the discussion and he's not, obviously we start talking actual South Carolina sports. And next thing you know, Ray wants to, like when we've talked NFL for the last 2 weeks or a little bit of Major League Baseball yesterday.
What did he say? He said,
I mean, I'll do it. I don't care.
Yeah, hop on for a segment.
All right.
We don't have something just popped out. Is that your power cord or power?
it's just my laptop. It's fully charged.
Yeah, boy, I don't know what we got. You might have to.
I
I
don't
mean,
know how
we ain't
to
gonna
use
we ain't gonna
that
take a phone
headset.
call. So
I don't need headset.
yeah, you.
I need a generator.
Heath's now kind of on the live stream. It's just
Yeah. You think you turn your speaker on, Bill? See if we can hear him.
is the Jen put him in program 3.
Better if I can shop.
Did you put Heath in program 3, or is he gonna be going on air? He's gonna go on air with. Yeah, well, otherwise, if he starts talking now, yeah. You might want to just his mic's on. You might want to make sure he's in. You might not want to talk into the mic just yet, or at least not go on one of your cursing tangents. I couldn't see you. I could catch somebody out of the corner of my eye, and I thought it was actually Ed running down to yell
To
about
say,
it.
why are you drinking coffee in the studio? The old timey clip of the day is James Reese's half court buzzer beater
You're
for.
kidding.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, what was the one we played the other
I think it was Cousinard in Kentucky.
It was something the other day. It was
Certain clips.
Did we finally upset the Yankees by taking by somebody's home?
I mean, when I would record that for him, he would just be like, find this YouTube video. It's from 30 seconds to whatever. I was like, this might be a dangerous game. I don't know that you can just take people's audio and put it out on the radio, but I'm not the radio police.
We got on the live stream the other day. I've got to talk to y'all about this. We got muted on Facebook or something because of when she played Al Green, and the live stream picked it up
After the fact.
Yeah,
Dirt.
I got a message that was like, "Yeah, you can't do that." I was like, "Oh, all right, sorry."
I mean, I know that we're not supposed to. We can't have these screens on TV on the live stream. I'm pretty sure. I've heard that.
Yeah, I don't.
So if we were facing the other way and the TVs were in the background, we'd have to kind of like turn the camera so the TVs can't be on there.
They can't.
There are weird rules. I just don't know what they are.
Thankfully, we don't have enough. Maybe one day that'll be a massive problem, but it's
Wait.
not today.
Did I just knock Patrick off the live stream?
Yeah,
no,
you
we're,
moved it.
no, we're still on it. It's just the camera.
No, but you should be on the live stream.
Well, they can hear me. They can hear me.
Yeah,
They
but-
want to see you for a little bit.
No, they don't. No one wants to see me. No one ever wants
All right,
to
we
see
can
me.
turn it so we can.
Yeah. No.
They want to hear you.
There,
Now your face is just covered
that's
by a
perfect.
logo
That's perfect. I should walk around with them.
with the 1075
time.
game logo.
All right, heading back in.
$7:22 on a Thursday morning, February the 17th. Again, hope you are up and at 'em. Turning out to be a pretty nice day, actually. Such a nice day that we have a special guest in studio. Heath Klein making a morning appearance.
Special? Is special really the term?
Well,
It's more special like the kid who ate the paste special? Is
I
that what
mean,
we're talking about?
I
He's on to tell us about the Imagine Dragons concert last weekend.
yeah, how was that?
I'm sure it was sick, bro. Although I don't know what. I guess Beamer was there, right? So I didn't know.
Was he there?
I didn't know Beamer was an Imagine Dragons guy.
Yeah. Beamer is, I guess. I don't know. Beamer's everywhere now. He was dropping the hockey puck the other night. He's at Imagine Dragons. He's
got a motor.
The guy has a lot of energy. Like, I don't know if maybe we just didn't pay attention and Will Muschamp was at every concert that took place, because I think Beamer was also at the Alabama concert a couple weeks ago, and he's just everywhere.
I think Will's a country guy, though. I don't know. I don't think Will would have been in Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, I don't know. No.
Although I don't know, he might have been somewhere with. Because I remember there was one time where Frank Martin talked about there was a concert that was not necessarily a concert that you would particularly associate with Frank Martin wanting to go to, but it was a popular thing, and so it's more like a take the kids thing. So I don't know, maybe Muschamp would have been at a if somebody in the Muschamp family was fired up.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
That makes complete sense.
I do
Yeah.
remember Frank Martin talking about running into Will at one of those
and
events.
being slightly surprised that Will was there. Like, hey,
It was kind of a we're both here for the same reason kind of thing. And it wasn't, man, I dig these sick jams.
Disney
Like-
on Ice
like-
will do that with the kids. The Disney on Ice will catch you
It's
every time.
like the dad just sitting on the couch in the store while you shop for dorm room furniture.
Is that what happened to you?
I've seen that, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been there where you go to like Target and you'll early in the school year and you'll see like 5 dads just laying down or sitting down on the couches napping while everyone else goes and does the shopping.
803-404-6100. He's sticking around for a few minutes. He actually came in to pick up his phone charger, not to visit with us.
I walk in and what do Patrick has already jacked my charger.
Yep.
He's already using it.
Oh,
And on top of that, he's like, oh, well, his phone is fully charged. We're like, I'm going to use it too. If I don't get here by 9 o'clock, I never see my charger.
That's right.
I thought we were getting chargers now.
I actually did come in
New
with like
bonus for-
90%, but the charger's sitting at my lap. I was like, I'm not going to not plug my phone
I don't
in
blame
and
him.
get free juice out of it.
I don't use it, and then anything that gets. Normally, Tommy just leaves hats and coffee mugs in here. I haven't figured that out.
I think it's an oatmeal mug, actually.
It's even worse. Yeah, normally
Might
that's
be.
what's in here when I arrive, and I have to carry it out. But
There was a sock the other day, but I think you brought that with you.
I think that snuck in with me with a bag. So let's ask you. We were talking before you came in because South Carolina football obviously is going to be a big topic. And Spencer Rattler, Patrick, give Heath your breakdown. I don't know if you got to hear it as he was wandering through the hallways of 107.5 looking for his phone charger. But Patrick Mahomes' numbers there in his final year at Texas Tech and how a great season didn't correlate to. Or a great season didn't necessarily correlate to a great record.
Yeah, it just kind of came up naturally because we were talking about next year's draft class with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and Bill mentioned Spencer Rattler. And when Spencer Rattler announced he was coming to South Carolina, the discussion was basically, hey, we might only have him for 1 year and he'll be a first-round pick. And if he is a first-round pick, that means great things for South Carolina. We'll all be happy about that because it means we probably won 8 or 9 games and he played well. But I was asking, what are the chances he plays really well or well enough to be a first-round pick, but it doesn't actually correlate to anything substantial in the win category for South Carolina because Patrick Mahomes, his last year at A&M, they went 5-7, but he threw for 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, 285 yards on the ground, 12 touchdowns, obviously inflated for a Big 12 offense, but how can that kind of be related?
Well, there's two things here. One, the NFL always drafts on what they think you can be,
Right.
not what you are. And that's part of why it drives me nuts when people say, oh, Spencer Rattler would have been the first pick last year. No, you don't know that. Nobody has any idea. Remember when Matt Leinart was going to supposedly be the first pick in the draft, and then the next year things dropped off a little bit, and people said things like, oh, he cost himself a bunch of money by coming back to school, and they didn't even win the championship. Oh, what a questionable choice. He didn't cost himself money. He hadn't been evaluated. There was a time where people said Matt Barkley might be a first-round pick. It wasn't that the Trojans didn't have a good enough year the next year. It's that the same physical qualities that Matt Barkley showed the rest of his career in the NFL, when they actually really evaluated him, that's what they saw. So Rattler's physical tools, I think we've all seen enough to know, pretty darn good. There's going to be a certain projection level for him no matter what. Where he can elevate himself, where he can be a first-round pick, is going to be in the details of how does he play. But even then, you're right, it's not win-loss record. I mean, look, a guy, the first real star quarterback I covered in my career was Danny Werfel. Danny Werfel won a Heisman Trophy. His school won a national title, but his stats were ridiculous, obviously. No one cared because he didn't have a great NFL arm.
Yeah.
Ditka took him in the 4th round, and he literally took him in the 4th round because he had bet someone that he would go before pick 100, and so he took him right before pick 100. They don't care about your stats. They don't care about your wins. They care about what they think you are. Rattler will have good stats more than likely, but it's going to be about what does he show them for the intangible qualities, about what moves him up. If you guys were, I heard you talking about this, and if he puts a zillion numbers against Georgia State, they don't give a rat's rear end about Georgia State. When do they see him have chances to make game-deciding plays? Does he make those plays? Even if, let's say he makes a throw that is a laser beam throw, and it proceeds to hit a receiver right in the hands, and the dude catches the ball, great. If he doesn't, and he's got frying pan hands and he hits the turf, they don't care about that outcome. They care that he made the right decision and hit the dude with a laser. They're not going to judge him on whether or not some receiver they may never draft in the first place caught it.
I think the question, though, is for South Carolina fans, the correlation between Spencer Rattler having a great year, as Patrick was pointing out with Patrick Mahomes, but not having an improved record. How likely is that? Because if he goes out and throws for, I don't want to put like ridiculous numbers out there, but let's say 3,500 yards and 30 touchdowns. Yet, defense is going to play a part of this. Yet South Carolina's still 6-6 when we wrap up the Clemson game, and they're looking at a trip to the Gasparilla Bowl.
I mean, it's possible that he could do that, but it's also a lot more likely that if he's having the kind of year that he wants to have and they want him to have, he doesn't need to have those kind of numbers because he's not going to be throwing it a zillion times. Like, he's more likely to have big stats in a game against Georgia where there's still a huge talent gap and where they're probably not going to be expected to win, and where Therefore, if you're behind, you're probably throwing the ball
Like Jake
more.
Bentley throwing for 505 touchdowns against Clemson.
Yeah, he's more likely to have a game like that against Georgia than he is against some of those smaller teams you talked about. I mean, they're not going to. The NFL's not going to remotely care if he goes for 480 versus 380 on Vanderbilt. That's not their priority.
The NFL is a part of this conversation, but I think the other part that you're trying to have, or we're trying to have, is more focused on South Carolina 2022 and how Spencer Rattler's year impacts South Carolina. Certainly, he needs to play well. We're not saying he's not.
Because
but-
lots
but-
of South
but-
Carolina fans think if we had big time quarterback play last year, then you can be an 8 or 9 win team.
But Bill,
That
what
was
I'm
missing.
saying, and I don't think you're getting, is that he could put up big numbers and still do it in a loss, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Right.
it hasn't been a better season. Like, okay, let's say the Gamecocks stay within 10 points of Texas A&M this year, but it's a loss. It would still be a gigantic improvement from the total disaster the last 2 years were. I know fans want to win the game, but if you're not watching yourself get completely humiliated for 3 quarters against the Aggies, you're in it into the fourth quarter, and it doesn't come up. That still should make you feel progress. It's not where you want to be, but it's progress. And the NFL will obviously, as a comparison point, say, boy, they looked a whole lot different against the Aggies with that dude at quarterback than what they had the year before.
Well, I think the question then would be how people would view, hypothetically, if you lose a Spencer Rattler. Right now, you got some nice quarterbacks on the roster. Luke Doty still's got a lot to prove. Braden Davis and Tanner Bailey and Colton Gauthier haven't thrown a pass. Or I guess Colton Gauthier has thrown one in a college game. But there's going to be that perception of, man, we could only go 6-6. And yeah, that's great. We played Texas A&M a much closer game with Spencer Rattler, but now we're taking a step back at the quarterback position. How's it going to make people feel going into year 3?
Well, hopefully you're doing other things to improve as you go along. I mean, the reality is this team hasn't played a single game yet with a healthy quarterback under Shane Beamer that's the guy they wanted to play. That hasn't happened for a single game yet. So if Spencer Rattler is just physically intact when he steps on the field against Georgia State, that's progress. You brought 2 talented guys into the system. Presumably you're going to work to evaluate them and develop them over the course of the next year if you're able to. Last year, there wasn't a single second that was truly development time for anybody. The games where maybe you could have had some development time for a guy like a Jason Brown, you were busy having to have a last-second drive with Zeb Nolan to beat Vanderbilt. So if you could go out against Georgia State with Spencer Rattler and really authoritatively assert yourself and take control of the game by the third quarter, and he could say, okay, it's been real, it's been good, we don't need you for the final 20 minutes, maybe that's where you get a Braden Davis some development time, or a Bailey development time, or Luke Doty. We haven't forgotten that Luke Doty's on the roster, I don't think. You have some talent, you have some depth. Ideally with him, you then get those guys the reps that we can feel a little bit more like you have some idea what you have the next year.
It's a very good sporty. It's a lot better than the first segment where I forget what we all. Oh, college diplomas. Is your college diploma hanging up in your house?
No.
Yeah, that was a big discussion in the first segment because last night was kind of. We talked about this. We tried to get into some sports in the first segment of the program, and we kind of looked around and we were like, oh, Rutgers.
We did start with sports, but then it got into Bill Paxton because he was looking for John Paxson.
Well, all right, hold on. You got to wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I know Bill Paxton didn't do anything last night.
We're just going to incorporate all the shows today. We're doing a little bit of Tommy's birthday thing. Do you know whose birthday it is? No, it's not Tommy Moody's, but do you know whose birthday it is today?
My neighbor Mo.
That's actually not how the conversation started, though. It started with Ron Harper Jr.
It did.
And
it developed to Ron Harper.
Bill Paxton to Ron Harper Jr. What
all right, well, yeah. Well, that's
doing?
why we're glad you're here. To completely, even Jen couldn't keep us straight this morning. So we went. Somebody texted in and pointed. We were talking about
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing.
Well, we were talking about Rutgers beating Illinois last night. We had our Vegas Insider guy on. He said to take Rutgers plus the 4. Patrick brought up Ron Harper Jr. playing really well.
I asked how many. Where does he on the hierarchy of the Bulls dynasty? How many names do you get to before you start thinking of Ron Harper? And he named Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and
Bill
Paxton.
I went Kerr, and then I was thinking of people who hit big shots.
Yeah,
and it was either Bill Paxton or John Paxton, and my guess was Bill Paxton, who I then remembered he didn't make it in time because he was busy shooting Twister with Helen Hunt. And so they had to turn to John Paxton to knock down the shot.
Yes. For the record, Paxson.
Okay.
Paxson.
Bill is Paxton. John is Paxton.
We developed down that path, and then we learned that today is Michael Jordan's 59th birthday.
Happy birthday, MJ. I didn't get you anything.
No.
I was going to get Gunnar some coffee creamer, but the security guard beat me to it.
Yeah, and instead you beat up.
Maybe I'll give Jordan some coffee creamer.
Then we talked about
Bring it full
diplomas and then
circle.
how lit the Rams parade was yesterday.
Oh yeah, did you see the Rams parade? Was that a good time or not?
If you take your shirt off in public, it must be a pretty good time, right?
Aaron Donald is the largest person I've ever seen with a six-pack. I don't think you're allowed to get larger than he is and still have a six-pack.
Man is
It's
jacked. There is no
absurd.
question. Imagine trying to line up against that individual and deal with him for 3.5 hours. That's
Well,
good luck to
thankfully,
you on that.
There's a lot of offensive linemen pulling for him to just go ahead and step away from the game. We appreciate you stopping by this morning.
I'm going to take my charger
Glad you
and go.
forgot the
Yes,
charger.
that's
Leave it whenever you want. We'll do this again.
We have plenty more off topic things we could bring up, but we'll just move on. Heath Klein, everybody. Heath Klein. We appreciate you stopping by. Is that do we get the clapping thing? Do we get the Heath for yeah? He doesn't have his headphones on anymore. He bows as he leaves. Yes, that's good. Very good. Very good.
It's really easy to do a show and talk with 3 people versus just 2.
Oh, well, Heath's very excitable.
Yeah.
He gets very fired up. 803-404-6100. It is the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, to do this kind of quality programming, you need a great night of sleep. That is why I partnered with Sleep Number years ago to be able to handle the kind of energy and excitement that Heath Klein brings when he stops by each and every morning. Because if you're not on that level, oh boy, you can just absolutely get run over. But with Sleep Number, I put that Sleep Number setting on 55. I am ready to go each and every morning. You can do the same. Proven quality sleep. I guarantee you it is life-changing sleep. And it starts with Sleep Number adjustability. Don't miss the President's Day weekend sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, plus special financing and free premium delivery and setup when you add a base. But again, it ends President's Day, Monday, February 21st. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. 2 stores to go and check out these great deals. One in Irmo and Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. It is the President's Day weekend special event where you can save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed. Get to a Sleep Number store today and check out the great deals. Make the switch to Sleep Number and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like. I will say, I don't know if you heard it. He didn't hear it when we played the lightning and the thunder. I don't know. I thought about how he would react if he heard us.
I'm not sure he knows that I recorded that.
I don't know if he does.
Because he wasn't in the studio. He just did it, and I was listening, producing. I was like, that is hilarious. I'm going to go back and clip that. I immediately wrote down the time so that I could go back and record it. What? No? Where do you see that?
Yeah, I sent it in. Patrick sent it in on the. That is what they need to go. That is one thing they need to go and sell for us, is like an energy drink or definitely a coffee company.
So this is where like we can get in a random, just jam in a random football topic. Need to.
Actually, this will be the perfect time to jam in the random 4-minute baseball conversation.
Sure, or we still need to. We can talk about the PGA too.
Oh yeah.
We got to talk about Bryson. I had a Bryson question.
Yeah. Everybody. All right. What was I going to do here? Let me go back and promote Perry and Carrie.
Bill, did you see the tweets between Marino and Jim
I
Kelly?
did not.
They were pretty funny. Dan Marino tweeted, "Keep your head up, Joe. I went to a Super Bowl my second year." And then Jim Kelly said, "I also went to a Super Bowl my second year. Lost that one, but we went back the very next year. Lost that one, but we went back the very next year. Fortunately, we lost that one, but we went back the very next year. Unfortunately, we lost that one too. Wait, should I delete this tweet?"
I didn't see that. All right, we might just go down that path for this segment. Bring up those tweets.
Okay, I'll pull them up. All right, yeah, I got the tweets. They're actually two pretty good tweets. Dan Marino does not have a sense of humor, but this was a good tweet. I don't think he came up with it. I'm already done my coffee. This is a problem. Normally, I make my coffee at 5:15 or something, so it doesn't get warm enough or cool enough to drink for a while. But I got home a little bit earlier today, so I made my coffee at like 4:30, and it's been drinkable since 6, and now it's gone.
Yeah, I'm excited, Craig. Genesis, that'll be my afternoon. We'll have to, since Lauren let me down on the coffee creamer, I'll go buy a coffee creamer and she can stop and buy us some more bourbon. Although she did buy some Four Roses for us. So maybe today will be the Four Roses. I think it's calling for rain this afternoon, though. So it might be a Four Roses day. We got a little bit of Blanton's left. I finished off the Buffalo Trace. We got some Jeffersons left, but not a lot.
I just moved.
Yeah, I'm a big Elijah Craig fan. So I have to. I don't know if we could do a 107.5 The Bar tonight. So I thought about going to the bar for music bingo, but I got a bourbon smoker. We bought a bourbon smoker for Valentine's. Let's see if you can see it. There's the bourbon smoker. It was pretty cool. Couple different drinks. All right, I guess I should read some promos. I don't know what we're talking about this morning. Diplomas, coffee creamer. We've gotten into some Spencer Rattler discussion. We'll talk a little baseball. We've kind of been all over the map. It is another fun, chaotic morning for the early game. Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner. Big thank you to Heath Klein for coming out of nowhere, just up and at him at 7. Who gets up, by the way, at 7, like 20 to go get their phone charger? And I guess he had to get up earlier because he was in studio by 7:20. Like, is your phone charger that important to you that you?
If my phone was dead, it would be.
That's true. You think his phone? I guess he didn't have it last night wherever he was at, so his phone was probably very late. He probably couldn't have called to check and see if it was still there, if it was still here.
I think should have a backup charger though.
I think that's always the key, is to have
sure.
the backup charger. So big thanks to Heath Klein though for stopping by. I want to let you know he will actually be at Tommy's Express Car Wash today. Actually, today is Thursday. He will be there today from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. You can stop by for prizes, including memberships, washes, and detail kits. That is Tommy's Express Car Wash, who is pleased to announce their grand opening of the new Express Car Wash facility, 4700 Divine Street in Columbia. Again, Heath will be out there celebrating the grand opening today, 4700 Divine Street today, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Go by and stop. You can get prizes, including memberships, washes, and detail kits. The grand opening celebration will be kicked off by supporting the Richland County Sheriff's Department K-9 unit, where 50% of the number one works wash sales will be donated to support their mission today. That's going on right now. You can still get over there actually for supporting the Richland County Sheriff's Department K-9 unit between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. today. So you got plenty of time if you get over there to get your car washed. And again, go stop by and see Heath Klein this afternoon. You can talk with him about his phone charger or about what we were talking about with Spencer Rattler and expectations for him this coming season. Again, that'll be at Tommy's Express Car Wash today, 4700 Divine Street. Heath will be out there from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Patrick, off air, again, on the live stream, it got brought up about the tweets yesterday. Joe Burrow, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, and some former quarterbacks that have never won a Super Bowl offering words of encouragement to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Dan Marino's tweet was this was on Valentine's Day, but I guess it just kind of went viral yesterday. He tweeted, "Don't be discouraged, Joe Burrow. I also came up short in the Super Bowl my second year. You have the rest of your career to never make it back." Which is a good tweet in itself. But then Jim Kelly responded and he said, "Exactly, Joe. I also lost my first Super Bowl, but the next year we made it again. We lost that one too, but then we made it again the very next season. We also lost that one, but then a season later we were there again." Actually, how do I delete this? A couple good tweets from the old guy. No way either of them came up with that.
Jim Kelly, I could see. I don't know. Dan Marino seems.
Dan Marino does not have a sense of humor.
Well, he was in Ace Ventura. I mean,
he's got a relative sense of humor, but I've seen him do some podcasts, and he
really.
Maybe he just had a bad day, but I've seen him appear pretty crotchety on some podcasts.
I could see that he looks like. I mean, he's a northern guy. I could see where he could be a little cranky at times, a little opinionated. Jim Kelly, obviously going to football, going to play college at Miami. I'm not sure where Jim Kelly was initially
They're
from.
both Yinzers.
Oh yeah, they're both from Pittsburgh.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was the cradle of quarterbacks for the longest time, and both those guys ending up and going on to great NFL careers, but never winning a Super Bowl. And
good for Pittsburgh.
We've talked about it, and coming up in about 20 minutes, Harry Orth will join us, and we'll get his take on what he saw from Joe Burrow and from Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl. But we talked a little bit about it. You're getting into your draft coverage that will really start to break down next month as the combine creeps closer and closer and closer. And Patrick, I mean, again, we've discussed it. Cincinnati has got to find a way to upgrade not only their offensive line, but their defense as well to be a true because they're not. It was a magical run. That was a fluky run, right? That was not a product of great players outplaying Kansas City and Tennessee. It was just kind of a. Am I not giving them enough credit?
I think you're not giving them enough credit. I mean, they played really well, and they are a good team. I think they just kind of arrived on the scene a little bit early. They're ahead of schedule. Clearly they didn't really expect to be there because their cap was not situated in such a way, but they kind of arrived before they were ready to spend their money. Usually the calendar or the window is year 3 and 4 of the rookie deals. That's when you can really have a good team around because the rookie quarterback contract is such a benefit to the teams that, when you're not committing $40 million to one position, you have a lot more room to build the roster. So that's when teams really try to strike is when you're on year 3, 4, 5 of those rookie deals. So, yeah, I mean, they were just a little bit early. I mean, they did have the number 1 pick 2 years prior. So, I mean.
Well, you say that next year will be year 3 for Joe Burrow. And now
they need to spend a lot of money this offseason. They have to.
And the expectation is going to be extremely high for Burrow next year, right? Like I'm guessing we'll get the Thursday night game to start the season will be the Rams and the Rams and the Bengals. I don't know if that would be of interest. I think the NFL will do their big Thursday night kickoff. I don't know the Bengals and the Chiefs, are they on the schedule for each other next year? Do you know?
No idea.
We'll see if they're scheduled to play each other in 2022. If so, I think everybody would much rather watch the Bengals and the Chiefs if they are indeed starting the season if they're on the schedule for each other next year. As I pull up Cincinnati's schedule, I'm just thinking ahead to what you end up getting here next year. So they play the Chiefs next year in Cincinnati. That should be your Thursday night starter. Mahomes, your Thursday night NFL starter. Get those two instead of Stafford and the Rams taking on the
all about that. But yeah, they need to spend. I mean, right now I think it's somewhere in the $70 million range. It might be $73 million. Their only key free agent they need to lock up is Jesse Bates, the safety who was really, really good last year, was decent for most of the year, played really well at the end of the season, had that big, huge tip against Tyreek Hill to almost seal the AFC Championship in overtime to get them the ball back. But you got to lock him up. You can't have your secondary getting any worse. More than anything, though, you need to spend a ton of money on this offensive line. You just have to do it. And you can't rely on draft picks either. There's no guarantees that a rookie is going to be good. What you can guarantee is if you go spend the $18 million, maybe it's 20, I don't know, on Brandon Sheriff, you know that you're going to get one of the best guards in the league. Right now, you have Jonah Williams at left tackle, who's a pretty good left tackle. That's the only spot that you say we don't need to upgrade right there. We have a decent enough player at that position. You got 4 out of 5 offensive line spots that need to be addressed. Go out there in free agency. If you need to really fill a hole that's a massive problem and you think you're a contender, you need to do it in free agency where you can get a known commodity. You can't just rely on the 31st pick and say, we're going to draft this player and start him right away, and that's going to fix our offensive line. Or we're going to draft 3 offensive linemen, start them all, and then we'll have our offensive line problem fixed. No, that's not at all the way to do it. You have to get someone that's proven they can do it at the NFL level. And when you have money to spend, don't just let it roll over the next year. You've got a legit window right now. You've got a big-time offense. You've got an elite quarterback. You've got a superstar wide receiver, if not 2 of them. You need to build that offensive line and then use your draft picks for just the best player available. Address needs in free agency and then build the rest of your roster through the draft.
Coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll catch up with Perry Orth and get his take, what he saw from the Super Bowl. Yesterday was the Super Bowl championship parade for the Rams, and the one thing that occurred there was newsworthy or noteworthy. I don't know how serious these conversations are with Sean McVay and stepping away and retiring, or how serious Aaron Donald is about stepping away at age 30. I think you and I kind of broke down the contract situation, and it does feel like more of a ploy to get a few more dollars, given that his contract, I think, takes him to 33 years of age. And at that point, it's going to be hard to cash in with a mega deal.
And he's not a top 5 paid defender in the NFL.
But yesterday, Aaron Donald, Sean McVay, well, I think it was McVay who started the chant, run it back, run it back. He is encouraging them to all come back. And Aaron Donald even said, we built a super team. We can bring the super team back. Why not run it back? We can be world champs again. So all right, after a few days of maybe McVay steps away, maybe Aaron Donald retires, it looks like the Rams will be back intact. They'll spend one more year.
Yeah. Nah, that can be it, I guess.
That can be. I mean, that's kind of the way
Sean
to do it, right?
McVay's fiance confirmed via Instagram that he's not retiring.
Gotcha. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on anything you've heard this hour. Perry Orth coming up in the next segment. Kerry Tharp at 8:45 to preview Daytona. A lot to get to in hour number 3. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Two down. All right. Yeah, the Bengals defense was solid. Eli Apple is a massive problem. He was bad in New York. He was also bad in New Orleans. He's been bad everywhere he's gone. And he is one of the most hated players in the league, not just by fans either. The Eli Apple getting dragged on Twitter has been hilarious. Mecole Hardman roasting him. Mostly because he dragged the cities that he played for basically no reason. Just talked a ton of trash about the city of New Orleans for no reason, and New York. Don't really know why. All right, Bill's recording a spot.
Liners during the show. I think it's just the liners. All right, you want me to cut this zero res, whatever it is, real quick? All right, I see. Mark, so it looks like Mark starts. I'll cut it. All right, I'll cut all these real quick. 30, 15, 30, 15. All right.
Are you asking what he did to me? He didn't do anything to me.
Good. Ready? All right, spring carpet 30. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Have you seen those cleaning videos on social media and all the hacks people will share for cleaning your home? Well, I got a hack for you. All you got to do is call the pros at Zero Res. I know, you've heard me talk about them before, but seriously, it's absolutely incredible. No soaps, no residue. Schedule today and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway clean for free. Book online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean. Spring carpet 15. Forget about that cleaning tip you saw on Facebook and call the experts at Zero Res right now. Mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109 plus a free hallway. Book online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Spring Ducks 30. Do you ever think about what's hiding behind all those air vents in your home? And guess what? You're breathing it in every single day. That's why I use Zero.
All right, we're back. I wanted to
And just a reminder, we'll get started.
wanted to respond to this. All those cities suck. New York and New Orleans. I get some people thinking New York sucks, but New Orleans is a great city. You're crazy. Crazy, man. Yeah, you missed a lot of special topics, Rick. This is close to as many topics as we've ever covered in one show.
We've been a little all over the map. Good. RL's recapping the show. I appreciate that.
If Heath has to come in just to get his cell phone charger because it's the only one he has, they need to pay you guys more. Agreed, Dan. Agreed.
RL, don't forget the coffee creamer discussion. Or the coffee discussion.
It wasn't a discussion. It was more just you complaining.
True. Did you see that television show on Apple TV? Severance. It's got to look like a massive cast. Christopher Walken. What's it called? It's called Severance. Looked strange. Actually looked like a good show though. $8:01 on a Thursday morning, the day before opening day for South Carolina at Founders Park, where they will host UNC Greensboro. We'll get more into baseball tomorrow, certainly, and the expectations that will be for Mark Kingston in year number 5. Coming up this hour in just a few minutes, we'll catch up with Perry Orth to get back into that Super Bowl. Kind of final thoughts as we move away from the Super Bowl and get into NFL Combine season. Certainly something Patrick Perrette very, very excited about. Just brings a smile to your face when we talk about the Combine, right?
Yeah, I'm not smiling right now, though, because I just watched the highlight of Anthony Davis spraining his ankle yesterday. It looks brutal. I hate watching sprained ankles.
Speaking of Anthony Davis, interesting article yesterday. We haven't really gotten into this, and maybe we should have gone down this path a little bit. Merle Code, who I actually worked with and very familiar with during my time doing basketball scouting, and we had a lot of great conversations and so forth back. He was with Nike at the time. Merle Code is written, I guess, a book. It is set to come out. I do not know when, but there's an article on sportsillustrated.com, si.com, as it pertains to what's going on with Merle Code and with basically everything that occurred in college basketball several years ago. Pat Forty wrote it, came out, it was a few days ago. You can go to si.com. It says Merle Code peels back the curtain on college basketball's bribery scandal. And it says the former Adidas executive sentenced to prison discusses details with Zion Williamson, Brian Bowen, we're familiar with him, and the reason Anthony Davis. And it mentions how payments were secured for everybody. It actually in here, there's an interesting part that mentions Clemson believed they were going to land Zion Williamson. It basically mentions Merle Code. You can go check out the article. I'm not going to read all of it. We're going to get to Perry Orth here in just a second. But this is an article, if you've got some time today, that it's worth reading. And then the book is going to be pretty interesting as well. Code talks about in the book, but he also talks about in this article the Brian Bowen deal with Louisville and how Rick Pitino was very aware of what was going on. It talks about Zion Williamson and conversations had between Curtis Townsend, the assistant coach at Kansas, and how Bill Self was kept abreast of pretty much everything that was taking place there. It's a really good article. It's a little long, but certainly it's one worth going and reading. The one section I was going to get to is this is according to Merle Code, who at the time I think had gone to Adidas in 2018. When I worked with him, he was with Nike. But he says the morning of April 20th, 2018, Clemson got word that Zion would announce that afternoon that he would be officially signing to play for them, the Clemson Tigers. A brief moment of euphoria broke out at the Hoops offices on campus, where football success had far exceeded basketball in recent years. Maybe Zion was going to change that. A few hours later, at a press conference at Spartanburg Day, flanked by his mother, stepfather, track-running older brother, and baby Noah, Zion reached under the table, pulled out a blue hat, and announced to the world, "I will be joining the Brotherhood of Duke University." Code says, "When I saw that, I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Well played."
Nice. Where's this article?
It's on sportsillustrated.com.
Okay.
It is on Merle Code. I'm because of my time doing scouting and everything that I was involved with, I'm very familiar with a lot of the names and a lot of things that went on kind of behind the scenes. There was always some interesting conversations that would take place in hospitality rooms as it pertained to some exchanges. So it's a different world. Maybe a
Right.
different conversation for a different day, but definitely an article worth going and reading and checking that out. 803-404-6100 if you hear anything you want to weigh in on. Chris asked, will there be any video streaming for baseball this weekend? Yes,
No.
I believe it is on SEC Network Plus.
I thought he meant us.
No, we are not video streaming that. What we are doing is getting out to the Love Chevy phone lines. We are wrapping up our coverage of the Super Bowl, and we get to our quarterback of the program, Perry Orth, joining us this morning. Perry, how was the Super Bowl party? What was the best finger food? Did you had finger foods, or did you just go with one nice big sit-down meal for everybody?
Well, we had a handful. So last week I came on here and told you that PDQ was kind of the go-to of, you know, you buy 25 tenders, you get 25 free, or 20, I guess, buy one, get one free. And so I went to do my call-in on Sunday to kind of fire that engine back up. And they said, well, you got to put your order in on Saturdays now. And I was like, well, had to call an audible like I do so well. And actually, my wife called this audible, which is pretty good. And we went and got 2 party packs from Taco Bell.
There you go.
And that was our contribution to the game. There was buffalo wings. There were chicken wings. There were, what else was there? You know, your typical chips and salsa. Nothing crazy, just kicking back, having some good food and fellowshipping with friends and nice cold drink and just a great football game to watch. Best halftime show probably of our lifetime. So it was really, really entertaining.
So let's start with the game itself. I didn't think it was an entertaining game. I thought it was interesting storylines, but the game itself I thought was a little tough to watch. I wasn't really enamored with it. Obviously down the stretch, Cooper Kupp makes some great plays. Matthew Stafford really steps up very late, but just the game as a whole, what really stood out to you before we start getting into the quarterback play?
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think that there have definitely been better Super Bowls. I think what made it tough is both defenses were so good, and then when, you know, I knew that Cincinnati was going to have a tough time blocking LA, and you know, the fact that they were able to score or at least get in scoring position with a few chunk plays, that was huge for Cincinnati. And then when OBJ got hurt, you know, you take a dynamic guy out of the lineup like that, and you know, it really, really limited LA on what they could do. Obviously, that final drive with Stafford and Cooper Kupp just on the money, on the same page. I mean, just 2 elite athletes doing what they do best. But overall, I mean, I thought for Joe Burrow's first Super Bowl, for him being as young as he is, and you know, to be honest, for him, his offense to be as limited as they are on the offensive line. I mean, they haven't blocked well all year, and he continued to make throws, but you could tell he started getting gun shy a little bit as the game went along when his knee got rolled up. he wasn't driving the ball down the field like he normally does. But, Stafford, obviously, he played well. I mean, I wouldn't say either one played better than the other. I mean, you got to go with Stafford because I guess he won the game. But, I threw it on my QB1 Instagram account, a little reel of him throwing that no-look dig route to Cooper Kupp. Just, it's incredible how gifted these guys are and how natural they are at what they do. And, man, what an unbelievable play that was. I don't know if any of you listeners or you guys here saw that play that I'm talking about, but it was pretty remarkable.
How difficult is that to do? Because it looks absurd, and there were multiple angles. I think the field level angle where you can literally see him looking off Von Bell, the safety, right there, because it was just enough of a gap for him to fit that thing in. So he looked Von Bell off just a little bit, and then when he cocked back to throw it, he broke left and Kupp came in right behind him. How hard would that be to do? I mean, do you need to be looking where you're throwing?
It's hard enough just to do it with somebody 10 yards in front of you, but let alone a live game. It was pretty interesting because the play that they ran was a play that a lot of teams run. I mean, we ran it in college, and when you get an open middle defense, which basically means you have two high safeties playing that cover two, and you've got 5 underneath or 4 underneath, depending upon the front that you have. All you're doing there is you're just trying to high-low that middle linebacker, do like a high-low read where you put the slot receiver on a quick little hitch route to try to get that linebacker to drive down to cover him, so it opens up the dig route. Well, in the NFL, the guys are so talented and so smart that the linebackers are going to play back knowing that they're giving you the underneath throw. So all they're doing is they're playing back and waiting for you to check the ball down so they can run up and make a tackle for a 3-yard gain. Well, what does Matt Stafford do to combat that? He stares at the underneath route the entire time, and then all while still looking at that underneath route, throws the dig behind him. And I mean, as a defender, there's literally no way in the world that you can defend that type of throw. It's just guys that are ultra talented doing what they do.
Is that practice? I know you practice, back shoulder throws. I know you practice, timing and all that. But is that something that quarterbacks do nowadays? You train kids? Like I guess, is that something that you do to elevate your game just because it may be becoming more a part of having to play quarterback, to kind of just like a no-look pass in basketball? You have to throw a no-look pass in football?
Well, I think that it's the QB position is evolving so much. I mean, golly, it's evolved so much more even, 5 years ago when I started training. I mean, I'm teaching, I'm not going to say completely different things, but we're training more on playing like backyard football, if that makes sense. You watch the best QBs in the NFL and even the best ones in college. They play with such a flow and such a natural feel of the game. It's not so much robotic even as it was when I played 6-7 years ago. It wasn't, you hit a 3-step drop and you're super robotic progressing through a read, where you're still doing that, but it's more of a comfortable position. It's not so much of a strict, all right, if we have this play, we're doing this drop, right? It's more of a flow. And so part of the no-look pass is part of that flow. And those guys at the NFL are absolutely practicing those no-look throws. I mean, the only way you get good at them is if you practice them. I mean, that's not the first time Stafford had done that. I mean, if you go through his career in Detroit, I mean, he did that all the time. Obviously, you just play on a bad team and you don't get, you don't get as much credit for the ability that you have just because you're not winning games. But yeah, it is interesting, man. The QB position is changing so much that even the mechanics are different. The people aren't teaching, you got to get way over the top and you got to hold the ball up by your ear so you can get it out quicker. You're really holding the ball down in the middle of your chest and creating a really nice fluid throw and rhythm in how you move in the pocket. So that way your body doesn't fight itself when you have to do things that are kind of out of the box.
So you might have kind of answered it when you talked about Stafford, what he was doing in Detroit, but did he change your opinion of him at all this year? Have you always felt like, or I guess, where do you feel like he stacks up in the hierarchy of quarterbacks right now? And there's obviously all this Hall of Fame talk right now. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but has he, by winning this Super Bowl, changed anything in your mind, or is this kind of what you expected with the move to a more talented team?
Well, I think it always does. Anytime you win a Super Bowl, your whole legacy as a player changes. Hall of Fame, I don't know. I think if he won another one, then yeah, definitely go ahead and lock it in. I mean, he's always been an elite, talented player, but it's hard to tab him with, Hall of Fame status from one really, really good winning season. But as far as him as a quarterback in this league, I mean, he's absolutely, especially now with some of the other bigger names retiring on, I mean, he's without a doubt in the top 5. I mean, when you think of great quarterbacks in the NFL, you think of Allen and Mahomes and Rodgers and Stafford, and obviously there's a handful others that I'm not naming right now. Obviously Joe Burrow, he's definitely within the top 5 in my opinion, and what he did this year with McVay and Kupp and Odell, I mean, they're going to be good as long as they can continue to rush the passer like they did. And I don't know what Aaron Donald's going to do, but if they get that front back, man, they're going to be dangerous again. Obviously, that was kind of the secret box to what made them so darn good with that pass rush. But, Stafford's Garcia talks about it all the time. Stafford has the most arm talent that he had ever witnessed in person. I mean, you're watching guys throwing 70-yard freaking rockets, not 70-yard bombs, like where he's throwing the ball 70 yards on like a relatively straight line throw. That's unreal arm talent. And, he's obviously a great guy. He's a super personable guy. Everybody in the NFL loves him. So definitely it was weird being a quarterback watching the game because I really liked Joe Burrow and kind of wanted Cincinnati to win. I have some friends that are big Bengals fans, but, obviously not upset about Stafford getting his first ring because he's just an unbelievable guy.
A little bit different, and I'm not sure how you can answer this, but as a quarterback, when you get hit the way Joe Burrow does or did this year, does it change how you train this offseason? Do you maybe take more time to allow your body to heal? Do you maybe focus on training different parts of your body to be able to take the beating? Is training as simple as walking into the front office and going, hey, I need offensive linemen? Like, again, it's a little bit difficult of a question, but Perry, there were games you get knocked around. Joe Burrow got knocked around all season long, and then we saw that image of him going down in the Super Bowl and grimacing, and it sounds like he's got some damage to his knee. It's just not going to require surgery. How do you train? How do you change your training maybe in the offseason to be able to deal with that if they can't fix the offensive line?
Well, I don't think that it's a technique that you can train. I think what it is more of mental. It's more of, man, if we don't fix these offensive line issues, I've got to know exactly where my outlet is to get the ball out of my hand quickly. You saw that early in the game, how he would look one. If that wasn't there, he'd turn and bang. He was throwing the running back. That was by design. That was to keep that pass rush off of him. The other thing too that I was really shocked, and obviously I don't know the NFL game. Was never there, never coached in it, but I didn't see them do a lot of different things to slow down that pass rush, which, I don't know if there was something that I was missing that I didn't maybe didn't see, or there was something in the game plan they didn't like, or maybe they do a lot of stunts where, the QB draw, the running back draw, or the screen routes weren't there, but there are different things that you can do to help slow your rush. Now, that's a game plan thing, but Burrow got his butt kicked all year, so they definitely need to go out and beef that offensive line up, because he, between him and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and obviously their duo of running backs they have, I mean, they're going to be good for a long, long time, especially with Big Ben leaving Pittsburgh. And, Lamar Jackson's an unreal athlete, but I don't know what the Ravens will look like, moving forward. But, in the AFC North, I mean, the Bengals are going to be the team for a long time, as long as Joe Burrow's there. And I can guarantee you Cincinnati is going to do everything in their power not to lose them.
Yeah, and I guess no matter who's on the offensive line, Aaron Donald is still going to be a problem because he's just that outrageous. When you're playing against somebody like that, and I don't know who the best pass rusher you ever played against. I don't know. Was Myles Garrett at A&M when you were there?
Yeah, I played against Miles.
So when someone like Myles Garrett is on the other side of the ball, I mean, obviously you game plan for it, but when you snap the ball, are you just playing like it's any normal play and you just can't afford to be looking over there all the time? Or is it constant? Like you're looking to that side all the time, and does it affect you kind of going through your progressions and playing the position in general?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the number one rule is you can't look at the line. So the reality is, man, you just got to play football and trust that your guy that's blocking him is going to do a good job for you. You know, and you know, specifically when we played against him, what I talk about, there were so many different things that we tried to do to slow his rush down. We tried not to allow him to dictate the game, right? We didn't want to just have me dropping back in 5-step drops and let him pin his ears back and just rush upfield. There was so much stuff that we did to offset that rush. But I mean, yeah, he got me a couple times as part of the game. I mean, you can't, and as a competitor and as a quarterback, you can't go back and sit there and think like, oh my gosh, like where's Miles at? I gotta, you know, I'm gonna wet myself kind of thing. You just got to go out and play the position and play the game to the best of your abilities. And I think that's what makes some of these guys so special is like Joe Burrow. I mean, the dude is just beyond tough. Like he plays with that linebacker mentality that even when he does get smoked, it's next play. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I get up and I move on to the next thing. And that's a big thing for a lot of kids and a lot of quarterbacks, that how are you going to respond when you're constantly getting hammered, right? And he obviously does it as well as anybody. He's just tough as nails. And he, as a young kid, his tenacity and the way he plays QB, because QB is not a violent position as far as you exerting pain on somebody, but it is violent in the sense of you are going to get thrown into the fire. And how are you going to respond when you are getting hit? He does it really, really well.
I actually didn't even think about it till right now, but you really never see him yell at his offensive line. I guess he just knows.
Save his energy
he just
for when
knows
he's
that
getting
they're
tackled.
I mean, maybe he just knows that they're terrible, but you never see him ripping them. Maybe that's why they like him so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that yelling at them is not going to make them block any better for you.
Yeah.
I think that there's a time to motivate, and I don't think that he feels like he's at a place in his career to do that. I mean, I don't think we ever saw Tom Brady get into his teammates until, man, he was a 3-time Super Bowl champion, had been through the gauntlet of the league and had kind of earned that player coach tab, right? Where Joe Burrow is 24 and he's yelling at another 34-year-old grown man. Like there's just that interesting dynamic. And that, again, that might not even be in his personality to do that, because yelling at your offensive line is not going to make them block better. I think encouraging them and kind of motivating them might. I don't think it's like, oh, well, I expect I'm going to get my butt kicked, so there's no point in even trying to fire him up. I think that's what good leaders do. I think that Joe Burrow, I mean, obviously what the way that he was able to rally the troops at LSU was why everybody was so high on him when he was coming out of college, because he kind of has that natural personality where people just kind of gravitate towards him. I mean, look at him. I mean, he's every kid, every high school kid, every bar stool, every social media account, you know, Joe Shiesty or Joe Breeze or whatever, Joe Cool, like everybody wants to be like Joe Burrow right now. And that's just because he's such a cool, demeaning dude, but he also plays the game with, and he plays the game with a great tenacity and does it the right way.
He is Perry Orth. He joins us to add expert opinion from time to time, especially during football season, on the quarterback position in college football and the NFL as a whole. And spring practice coming up, so your time with this program is not over. We got into this morning, don't have time to do it here right now, but your thoughts on Spencer Rattler and just what he needs to do this spring. So we will definitely look forward to catching up with you here in the next few weeks and getting your thoughts on his development, and also the younger guys, what they need to do and how they can learn from him as we move through spring practice. So I appreciate you taking time, and glad you were able to call an audible there on that food and not let everybody down at the party.
Yeah, I know you had to, man. And I tell you, Taco Bell, don't sleep on Taco Bell now. They got it. There's that party pack, man. You get your 12 soft tacos and 12 hard tacos, and everybody's happy.
There you go. Look at that.
It's a shame Chick-fil-A's closed on
it's-
Sunday because a
it's-
nugget tray is perfect for Super Bowl party.
It is you're a good man, though, a great husband, because I heard you give credit to the wife. You said it was her call, not yours. You were scrambling. She stepped in and saved the day, though.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, if you're not marrying up, you're doing something wrong, and I definitely did. I think that's that salesman in me.
That's excellent work. Great job, Perry. Appreciate you taking the time, man. Have a great rest of the week, great weekend. We look forward to catching up here in the next few weeks, talk some spring football.
See you guys.
Take care. Perry Worth. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at PerryWorth10 if you're not already. We always appreciate him taking time out to join us and add his expertise to the program. 803-404-6100. Patrick, there is a mock draft out. I know you love these mock drafts. It is on NFL.com. Chad Reuter. Are you familiar with Chad Reuter?
Nah, if it's not Daniel Jeremiah on NFL.com, I'm not interested.
Well, it's got an interesting selection at number one. Kind of makes sense.
Evan Neal?
But what it does have that I want to bring up in the next segment is the Carolina Panthers, and in particular, a move they could make that would give them their quarterback of the future. You kind of hinted at it earlier. We'll talk about this and see your thoughts on the Carolina Panthers and maybe a new quarterback when we return. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Well, I'll go home. Take a nap. Oh, see this? Patrick, you can get a cold and nugget tray from Chick-fil-A made to heat when you're ready.
It's not the same.
I agree.
Britney Spears just got a new dog.
I saw that out of
very
Hawaii
cute.
or something.
Yep. Australian Shepherd.
That's good. Did she finally get her emancipation or whatever? Did she get free from her father? Or
I do think she got out of the what do they call it? What is it called?
Thank you, Mark. Yep. Heath, Mark, you gotta pay attention. Gotta go back and watch. But Heath came by to get his phone charger, so we made him do part of the show. Attaboy, York. Bachelor's of Science, I believe. Isn't that what that is? Boy. See, we're getting back into, again, when you say degree, I think this is a very weird confusion. It's a diploma. Your degree is what you graduate with, right? Like I got a degree in
I guess so.
I got a degree in history, but your diploma is the piece of paper you display to show people you got a degree. Yep, Chris Deering tomorrow, Alan. We will catch up with Chris Deering tomorrow. Tomato, tomato? I don't know if it's tomato, tomato. I thought it was tomato, tomato. Good job, Rick. It's all right. Any education is quality. Yep, we are officially over 1,000. Tomato. I say tomato.
Nobody actually says tomato.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They should change. They should change the statement to something that is controversial.
Pecan,
caramel, caramel.
That's good. I have a lot of summer topics that have popped up in this show. Like, what is more annoying, the pecan discussion or a caramel discussion? Bless you. Alan, do you still have Alan? Actually, I'll use our live stream. Do you still have a connection that I can contact with Gamecock Hockey? Somebody I could call today? If so, send me a direct message on Twitter. Is there somebody I could get in touch with over there that you know of? Just a phone number, somebody. Got trying to do one or two other little things here. Travis, we did. Jen actually has some audio from that, but we'll play it tomorrow when we talk about basketball. Jen, we'll hold that. Yeah, I saw your message. Just we're not fitting in basketball today, so because I imagine. Let me know how long the next break is, so that I can.
I wonder if that's like, where does this originate from? Because the only people that would say tomato are British people. No American says tomato. That's a British accent.
Oh yeah, potato. Yeah,
potato. That has to be what it is. It has to be a phrase
tomato
stemming from English accents and American accents.
Oh, there's like, God, Zion's gonna miss the continues the. Is Zion done? We might get into that a little bit tomorrow. Just the like, is his career basically over? I mean, is he heading down the Greg Oden path?
At least Greg Oden had injuries. Zion's just heavy.
Well, but I mean, that's causing his foot. Like,
exactly.
Anything you miss on this program, you can always go back and check the 1075 The Game website. Click on the podcast tab at the top, and you can hear interviews like the ones we just had with Perry Orth as we pretty much wrap up the Super Bowl and move forward now into draft combine season. The Is it the official year ends March 16th, I believe. Is that correct? Is it the official year ends or the official year begins? Because that's you can't
2022 begins.
okay. All right. So that's because you can't do any trades or really anything until March 16th.
Yeah, it's a dead period right now. I think the legal tampering period becomes starts on March 14th.
Gotcha. Okay, there we go. So that pretty much concludes the 2021 NFL season. We'll kind of move on from that. What now becomes is NFL mock draft season, a season that Patrick Perrette just absolutely loves. And there is a mock draft out here. It was brought to my attention because let's just start with this. It projects JJ Enagbare. It's on NFL.com. Chad Reuter is the person who has put this out. He put it out on the 14th, so he put it out on Monday. He has got a 3-round mock draft that he's put out here, and he's got JJ Enagbare projected as the 77th pick, a round 3 selection to the Minnesota Vikings. Just how do you feel about that when I tell you that?
I think it's late. It's a really talented pass rusher class, or really deep, maybe more so deep than talented, but he's probably going to be the 5th, 6th or so pass rusher taken. It's Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau are 1 and 2, and then there's a little bit of a gap, but there's a lot of guys in that next tier too. David Ajabo from Michigan, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, then probably Kingsley Enagbare right there at number 5-ish.
The interesting part about this draft here, and I want to get Patrick's take on that, is the quarterback selections in the first round. These are fun to kind of analyze at times and what they could do for your team. So let me give you one real quick and just get your hot take for here. Number 11, the Washington Commanders. He has got, this is again Chad Reuter, NFL.com.
Don't say Kenny Pickett.
Matt Corral.
Okay, I would like that better.
I was going to say he's got Pickett going 2 picks ahead to the Denver Broncos, which I don't know
Denver
about.
Broncos have already drafted a quarterback with small hands once, and it didn't work out, and his name was Drew Lock.
Just his quarterback breakdown. He's got Sam Howell going to the Steelers in a projected trade with the Jets. So he's got the Steelers moving up to number 10 to take Sam Howell, and then again number 11 he's got Matt Corral. Matt Corral could be the guy who shoots up right with
Possibly.
really moves up the draft with good workouts. Like, you know, as maybe I'm assuming he's invited to the NFL Combine. I haven't looked. So
he did not go to Senior Bowl, obviously, because he was hurt. He was the only one of these guys that didn't play in the Senior Bowl, and nobody really looked great in the Senior Bowl. So there's a lot of people. A popular sentiment is that Matt Corral is the only person that raised his stock during the Senior Bowl. Maybe just him and Malik Willis.
So interesting. Well, there you go. Good segue. So I wanted to get your opinion on this. The mock draft here, again, Chad Reuter doing this. You can go check it out, NFL.com. He projects the first 3 rounds. He's got the Carolina Panthers in a projected trade with the Houston Texans to select Malik Willis at number 3 in the draft. It says Panthers head coach Matt Rule's search for QB1 continues, and in this scenario, Carolina trades up for the playmaking Willis despite sending valuable draft picks to the Jets for Sam Darnold a year ago. And he's got him taking Malik Willis. How would you right now, Malik Willis? Yeah, on the live stream, if you're not seeing the face of Patrick Perrette.
It's not even about Malik Willis either. It's just last year, what they did was just so beyond stupid. Like, there was no reason to do that. In a quarterback class that was actually talented, like really talented, like 5 guys in the top 15, and all of them have a chance to be really good talented, they trade for Sam Darnold before the draft and then draft a corner. I mean, I love JC Horn. Glad that he stayed local. But when you need a quarterback, getting a guy who's a year away from his 5th-year option and an $18 million price tag, who's never shown that he can be a franchise quarterback, instead of just getting a guy on his rookie contract where the sky's the limit and you have him under team control for 5 years, it's just one of the most idiotic moves that's happened in the last couple of years. If they trade for Sam Darnold and still draft a quarterback and say, we're hedging our bets, okay, that's fine. But the process there was just so stupid. And now they don't have any money because they're paying it all to Sam Darnold. It's almost the only hope is the trade from Malik Willis. So just the fact that you had an opportunity, I think they could have gotten Justin Fields or Mac Jones is where they were at, because 1, 2, 3 was Lawrence, Wilson, Fields,
right,
or Lawrence, Wilson, Lance. So they could have gotten Fields or Jones. They decided to go corner. Here they are with no money, a bad roster, a coach that's about to get fired. You might as well just draft the quarterback. Matt Rule is just going to draft the quarterback so that he can save his job and say, look, It's not my fault we were bad this year. I had a rookie quarterback. I'm developing him. They're screwed. They're in one of the worst positions of any team in the NFL right now, I think. So you might as well just take a shot on a quarterback that has some upside.
And it's kind of crazy how quickly that changed because I feel like a year ago,
Yep.
we wouldn't say they were in a great position. We also wouldn't say that they were in this bad of a position. And it's like they've made some massive
I think they're being really poorly run right now.
massive mistakes there. We'll continue talking about that as we see more NFL mock drafts come out. We got to get Patrick's whiteboard here into the studio so he can start breaking everything down for the people in the live stream. We got a lot to get into as we cover the NFL, especially the Carolina Panthers over the next several months. Want to let you know there is certainly tonight, South Carolina's women take on Auburn. The Auburn Tigers not very good, 9-14, 1-11 in SEC play. That's pretty much complete opposite of South Carolina, 22-1, 11-1 in SEC play. 7:00 tip time over at Colonial Life Arena. A couple people on the live stream talking about they've got tickets and are going. Should be a good time. You can hear it on 1320 a.m. here on our station. You can also check it out on the SEC network on Sunday. However, big game. Tennessee will be in town. 1:00 tip time. Set for Sunday against Tennessee. I'm sure you're all aware by now that ESPN's College Game Day will be on location. We will also be on location. Join 107.5 The Game as we broadcast live from the steps. This is Sunday, a special segment we will do at Colonial Life Arena, 11 a.m. until 12:45. Patrick will be there. You can go out and visit Patrick. Stop by and say hello.
Huh? Bill will not be there. Patrick will be there.
What?
You said we.
I mean, well, we, as in 107.5 The Game. I'm sorry. Patrick Perrette will be there. Go by and say hello to Patrick. Broadcasting live this Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12:45. 107.5 The Game will be there to join in the excitement of ESPN's College Game Day being on location. Again, the big game against Tennessee at 1 p.m. Special thanks to Sound and Images for sponsoring our special broadcast this coming Sunday. Up next, it is time for the champ to return. That'd be me. I'm actually already here, so I don't know how much returning there needs to be. But we make our picks for Daytona. Jen sighing into the microphone is not a pick. It's a sign that her favorite time of the season is back. NASCAR.
Yes.
And the guru, Bill Gunner, and the president,
NASCAR.
Kerry Tharp. And Patrick, I don't know. What title do you want? Official starter?
Man.
Get you a flag.
Moderator.
Pit crew. Moderator.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Moderator, Patrick Perrette. We make our picks. We are joined by Kerry
Keeper
Tharp.
of the peace.
Keeper of that's actually probably better. You probably are in charge of making sure. Keep an eye on Jen.
It's a good thing Carrie's not in the studio for this because it could get heated.
Has a tendency. They do have a tendency to get very upset when I continuously make the right picks. Difficult being me. I am number one, Jen. Thank you. You're listening to the early game. Everybody's listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. You know, what I really should do is let Jen tell you about Zero Res because you should see the mess she makes at her house after I win another NASCAR pick'em. She's throwing drinks around. She's slamming coffee pots. She's throwing plants around. It's a huge mess. And I've always told her, call Zero Res. That ZR water technology, it'll make your house look clean. Not like the loser you were when you finished, I don't know, second, third, fourth last year in the picks contest. Zero Res is there. They'll make you feel like a winner. ZR water technology, scientifically proven to get your rugs, your carpet, your tile, your upholstery insanely clean. If you got pets, Zero Res will make it look better in the house. I'm telling you what, give them a phone call today, 803-262-4020. That's how you can get in touch with Zero Res. You can also book online at zerorescolumbia.com is the way to reach them right now. If you get in touch with them, mention my name, Bill Gunner, and 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109 plus a free hallway. Again, 803-262-4020 or online, zerorescolumbia.com. Again, give them a phone call. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and then you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109 plus a free hallway. You can book online, zerorescolumbia.com, or give them a phone call, 803-262-4020. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Yes, Carlton. Not one more look for scouts, but one final All-Star game. HBC Legacy Bowl on Saturday. The final All-Star game of All-Star season. But the scouts will have a lot more looks with the combine coming up March 1st.
Thank you, Alan. Alan is hooking us up. Alan, Patrick will buy you a beer if I can get it worked out, I think, where I have to go over and Patrick gets to take shots on. It'll be a cheap beer.
Well,
maybe a pitcher.
I
Alan
don't-
sent us he sent me a number to get in touch with.
I don't know if I can shoot on skates. I can't skate. I've skated once in my life.
Can't you get maybe we can get the shoes like they wear for.
I mean, I'll try. I'll go out there and put skates on and try. But I don't know how to skate. I've actually been wanting to try and skate again to see if now that I'm a adult, if I could just naturally put them on and know what I'm doing out there. But yeah, you saw me with the hockey stick last week. I don't know how to use a hockey. I've never played hockey.
It's true, actually.
I've never played hockey in any capacity. I've played less hockey than I have golf.
What exactly is going on the live stream with York and Rick?
York's good. Got tickets for Rick for the
Yeah,
women's
but it
game.
looks like York. It looks like Rick may have tricked him into texting I don't even know what EGR is. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Mark. I would not respond to a phone number that gets put in here.
Nope, that is his actual number.
That's good.
Now I
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out for the hockey.
I mean, I can get in touch with the lacrosse coach and I can take a lacrosse shot on you instead.
I'd prefer not. That I mean, I don't know what would hurt more.
The lacrosse shot would hurt more.
The pads, they're not as
You don't wear anything really. You wear a chest protector and a neck protector, and that's it. There's nothing on your arms or lower half.
RL, we're gonna try and get. If you're talking about the hockey coach, I'm gonna try and get him tomorrow because I think it's senior night. If I understand correctly, I looked the other day and I've forgotten. Tomorrow morning, Chris Deering will join us. We may also have another special guest or two as we count down until the start of South Carolina's baseball season over at Founders Park. That means spring is on the way. Another way to tell spring is on the way is with the 107.5 The Game Spring Open, Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club in Blythewood, 10 a.m. shotgun start, two-person Captain's Choice teams. It's $200 per team. Again, it's a unique little event that we're going to try, two-person Captain's Choice teams. We will have great raffle prizes. Closest to the pin, $1 million hole sponsored by our good buddy Benji Getsy at Buford Lending. Plus, you'll have free breakfast and lunch. All entries into the tournament get a free golf membership at the Windermere Club until March 31st. You can sign up 1075thegame.com for registration information. Head on over 1075thegame.com for registration. It'll be the 2022 107.5 The Game Spring Open, Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club in Columbia. Another sign that spring is here is when the NASCAR guru comes back to the program. I make my reappearance on the program.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about Carrie.
Kerry Tharp joining us as he does
Woo!
so often to offer quality insight, normally second or third place quality insight into the program. Kerry, it is a fun weekend. Daytona 500. It is a signal that spring is beginning and a whole new race car season, buddy. How excited are you?
Well, I tell you what, I'm as excited as I've ever been for a NASCAR season, and that dates back 16, 17 years since I've been involved in the sport. And equally as excited to unseat you as the reigning champion in our picks contest. But be that as it may, I think there's a lot of momentum for the sport right now. The Daytona 500, one of the earliest sellouts in recent memory. A lot of enthusiasm, anticipation with this new race car, and I'm really looking forward to the race on Sunday. I think it's going to be excellent.
I'll ask both of you, and Jen, I'll start with you. You mentioned you're looking forward to what is one or two things, Jen. I'll start with you that you're really interested in seeing, whether it's a driver and their performance, whether maybe it's a particular aspect of the car. You two are much smarter at the actual nuances of the racing. I'm just smarter at picking the drivers. But what is one or two things that, Jen, you're looking forward to this coming Sunday?
I really am just anxious to see how these cars perform and hold up. As far as the design, I know there have been some modifications here in the past 24, 36 hours as far as how they're handling and all of that. And I'm also anxious, like I kind of touched on last week. I want to see kind of how the pit stops go, with it changing out how they're fueling the car and the one lug nut versus the five. I think some of the competitive aspects are going to be kind of fun.
Kerry, what you mentioned, again, an exciting season. You mentioned the car. Any particular driver that you're maybe not picking to win the Cup this year, but that you're interested to see their performance?
Well, I tell you, that's a great question. There has been a few movements within the team rosters. Brad Keselowski going over from Team Penske. Now he's part owner over at RFK Racing. I think it'll be interesting to see how he performs in that new role. Kurt Busch going over to the 2311 team, which is co-owned by Michael Jordan. I think it'll be interesting to see how he does. And then, of course, again, you look at the Hendrick team. They are so strong. They're the New York Yankees of NASCAR, and you know that they're going to be there. I think this is a comeback year, so to speak, for Kyle Busch. What really wasn't the type of year that he was wanting to have last year, but a lot of storylines out there, Bill, and I just think that each week we're going to see something different.
Get into the picks. It's that time of the program where I get to just show my excellence, but being the good host I am, Kerry, you pick first because that's what I've been told has to happen.
Well, I've been studying this very carefully, and I don't know, for some reason, this one name I keep coming back to is Joey Logano. So I'm going to go with Joey Logano to win. I guess it would be his second Daytona 500. I think the Fords show that they're pretty fast in practice so far down there. And he's a great racer at these type of racetracks. I look for the 22 car to go to victory lane on Sunday.
Jennifer?
I've struggled with this one. I'm going to say Byron. William Byron.
Long shot, but he's very popular amongst some of the picks. William Byron will start third on the poll. Kyle Larson will start first. Alex Bowman second. Byron third. I'm going to take a chance to start the new year. It's not a chance really on a bad driver, but Chase Elliott, he's finished really well there in his last three races. I think he's due. He's going to start fifth on the poll on Sunday. Are we still letting Reggie Anderson do this? He's been so bad.
He's actually already picked, and I was okay with that. He said Stenhouse.
Sure, whoever.
Stenhouse will probably wreck before the end of the race, so that's typical.
Awful pick. Kerry, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you for starting off another great year. We look forward to catching up with you next week.
Sounds good. Y'all have a good one.
Take care.
Thanks, Kerry.
Always enjoy Kerry Tharp joining us. Patrick, great show. Friday. One more for the week. Lauren, better have my coffee creamer.
Did you see the message board?
Sounds to me like you need to get more organized.
The response from Dabo sitting on Kate Klubnik's lap. I'll end it with this. I don't know if it's live show appropriate. It's fine. I don't know. I don't find many reasons for an adult male to sit on another male's lap, much less one that is less than half his
Oh, that
age.
was
Is it
weird,
the end of
yeah.
the world? No. But why? But the good one was, yeah, he's not sitting directly on the guy's penis. I'm good with it. I hope Jen cut us out of program 1. It's not one of the dirty words.
Yeah, we can get away with it.
We can get away with it. All right, everybody.
Have a great day.
See you tomorrow.